Chapter 141. After putting down the medicine, Lu Tingxiao was about to knock on the door to ask Ningxi if she was ready, when the bathroom door was pulled open from the inside. Ningxi, tightly wrapped in a huge bath towel, hopping out like a caterpillar. "Be careful." Lu Tingxiao was worried that she would fall because she couldn't see it, so he hurried forward to help her. Ningxi sighed and said earnestly, "It's not me who should be careful. You should be careful, Lu Tingxiao." "Careful of what?" Lu Tingxiao was puzzled. Ningxi said matter-of-factly, "Of course you should be careful of me. I soaked for a while and found that my strength was almost restored, but the flame buried in my body was like a dormant volcano that could erupt at any time. So in this case, you'd better stay away from me. If I go berserk and can't control myself, the consequences will be very serious. Even I am afraid of me when I go berserk. Let me tell you." Lu Tingxiao smiled and didn't know whether to laugh or cry at her exaggerated words. In fact, he was looking forward to the consequences. "I've bought the medicine. Do you need my help?" Lu Tingxiao asked. "No, for the sake of your chastity, I'll do it myself," Ningxi said righteously. "My chastity." The corner of Lu Tingxiao's mouth twitched. Ningxi blinked. "Didn't you say that you would only accept sexual relations with marriage as the premise? It would be a sin if she broke his principles. It would be like looking for a needle in a haystack." Lu Tingxiao pinched between his eyebrows. Was it too late for him to take back his words? Ningxi said hesitantly, "Well, I'm not wearing clothes." Lu Tingxiao nodded, handed the medicine to her and said, "I'll wait for you outside." "Okay. Oh, by the way, please help me to see if my clothes and bag are outside." "Okay." Lu Tingxiao went to the living room. After a while, he found a clothes basket in the corner. All Ningxi's things were in it. There was a flash of light in her bag. A call had come in on her phone, which she had turned on silent mode. Lu Tingxiao glanced at it casually. The next second, his pupils suddenly contracted. 2 letters were clearly flashing on the caller ID, YS. It turned out to be the person whose identity he couldn't find out. The phone did not hang up. The screen kept flashing. Lu Tingxiao stared at it for more than 10 seconds. Finally, his slender fingers picked up the phone and pressed the answer button. On the other end of the phone, there was the soft sound of pouring wine, followed by a hoarse male voice. "Hey, sissy, did you receive the gift? Happy birthday." Lu Tingxiao remained silent. "Hello?" About 5 seconds later, when Lu Tingxiao thought she would stop talking, the slightly charming voice rang again. "Oh, you're not Ningxi?" Lu Tingxiao remained silent. Then, the rhythmic sound of a wine glass gently knocking against some glassware came from the other end. Then, the man continued to speak with interest. "Then who are you? Let me guess. It must be a man. A man who is still with her at this time. A one-night stand? Or are they dating?" The man paused and chuckled. There was a dangerous malice in his tone. "Ha, if she's in a relationship, did she tell you that she's two-timing?" That's right. The other ship is me." What did he mean? Just when Lu Tingxiao was about to get more information, the phone suddenly went dark. It had run out of battery and turned off automatically. Chapter 142. They had always thought that YS was one of Ningxi's ex-boyfriends, but from what he had said on the phone, it seemed that they were still in a relationship. Otherwise, why would he use the word two-timing? Did Ningxi have a boyfriend but she had never mentioned it? Thinking of this possibility, Lu Tingxiao's face darkened. But he quickly calmed down, for it was very likely that YS had said this deliberately to hurt his rival in love. "Lu Tingxiao, I'm done applying the medicine. Are my things here?" "Yes." Lu Tingxiao came back to his senses and took her things into the room. After Ningxi changed her clothes, Lu Tingxiao went back in. After changing into her own clothes, Ningxi felt much more at ease and the atmosphere was not so strange, so she took off the blindfold. As soon as she took off the blindfold, she saw Lu Tingxiao looking at her with a complicated expression. She touched her face and asked in confusion, "What's wrong?" Lu Tingxiao sat down on the edge of the bed. "Ningxi, can you tell me about you? About me? What about me?" No matter what it is. Ningxi felt that Lu Tingxiao must have deliberately asked her to talk to divert her attention, so she thought for a moment and said, "Well, let me tell you about my hometown. Although it wasn't the answer he had expected, different paths led to the same goal, and it would eventually lead to that question. Moreover, this was the only time, and also the first time she had ever mentioned anything related to herself in front of him. So Lu Tingxiao nodded. Okay, Lu Tingxiao, there is a small town called Spring Breeze Town on the outskirts of Sea City. Do you know about it? Well, I bet you don't know about that small place. Yes, the scenery is nice. Did Heroes with Gone with the Wind shoot there? Ningxi was excited. Yes. So you know about it too. There was a scene where Heroes with Gone with the Wind and Rain roll in the wheat field. It was filmed in our town. Roll in the wheat field? Why did she mention it at this time? She had talked so much, but she had forgotten about rolling in the sheets. Okay. Ningxi hurriedly stopped this dangerous topic, It's mainly because we haven't been developed by humans, so the environment is very good and the air is very good. A few years ago, Lu Jingli also wanted to go fishing there, but I was busy at the time, so I didn't go, Lu Tingxiao said with a hint of regret. If he had gone, would he have met her earlier? In a sense, Lu Jingli was really the red line between him and Ningxi. Although he didn't go that time, he still met her later. It was also because Lu Jingli had brought Xiaobao to the bar that all these things happened. I'll reward him properly when I get back. If you have the chance, you must go there once. You definitely won't be disappointed. I can be your tour guide. Speaking of her hometown, Ningxi looked excited, but then her face slowly became gloomy. More than 20 years ago, the air was better. At that time, many rich people came here for vacation, and many even came here to have a baby, including Mrs. Ning Zhuanglingyu 24 years ago. At this point, Ningxi suddenly fell silent. Lu Tingxiao didn't rush her, but waited quietly for her. Ningxi took a deep breath and continued in a storytelling tone. Mrs. Ning was going to have a baby in Spring Breeze Town and then go back to give birth. Unexpectedly, the baby was born early. Chapter 143. She couldn't make it back to the city in time, so she was sent to the only small hospital in Spring Breeze Town. That night, there was another pregnant woman who was also sent in. What happened next? Lu Tingxiao asked, although he had already guessed what happened next. Ningxi shrugged. Then it was too melodramatic. That small hospital was understaffed and had a messy system. The two girls were switched at the wrong place for 18 years. Do you know? Ning Xuelua's blood type was the same as mine, so no one found out about it. How did they find out about it? Ningxi turned her head and smiled at Lu Tingxiao. Well, I should thank my dissolute second uncle for that. Ning Yaobang? Lu Tingxiao had some impression of him, but he didn't know much about him. He only knew that he was a famous playboy in the capital. Yes, my second uncle was a playboy. After he got married, he still fooled around with women and killed many people. He had 1 son and 3 daughters. I don't know if there is a problem with the feng shui of the Ning family, but in this generation, Ning Yaohua and Ning Yaobang couldn't have a son no matter how hard they tried. So, my second uncle's illegitimate son became the only male heir of the Ning family. My second uncle was very proud at that time. He thought he could inherit the family property, but then he found out that the only male heir was not his biological son. He was cheated on by another woman, haha. And guess what? Lu Tingxiao loved the sparkle in her eyes. He thought for a while and said, then your grandfather tested the DNA of all the Ning family's descendants and found that Ning Shuolua was not a member of the Ning family, right? The Ning family was speechless. Can't we talk properly? I don't feel any sense of accomplishment by keeping you guessing. Lu Tingxiao chuckled. Sorry, I'll improve next time. Ningxi snorted and continued. Anyway, after some investigation, they found out that Ning Shuolua and I were switched at the wrong place in the hospital, and then I was taken back to the Ning family. Hearing her say these words in such a casual tone, Lu Tingxiao gently touched her head. They didn't treat you well? Ningxi didn't think it was a big deal, but when Lu Tingxiao patted her gently, she suddenly felt aggrieved. As expected, people would only feel aggrieved if someone felt sorry for them. No one would care who they were showing their grievances to. Looking at the girl's depressed look, Lu Tingxiao generously opened his arms. I can lend you my hug. Ningxi was taken aback and turned her head. No, You're tempting me to commit a crime. You know that? Lu Tingxiao didn't say anything and continued to look at her intently. What about your foster parents? Did they treat you well? Speaking of her adoptive parents, Ningxi cheered up a bit. My grandma values boys more than girls and doesn't like me very much. When I was born, she almost threw me into the river and drowned me. Later, she lost me again, but my father picked me up. My mother is also very kind to me. I have a very sensible and obedient younger brother. Hearing that she had almost drowned, Lu Tingxiao's heart tightened. Also, when she mentioned her mother, there seemed to be something wrong with her expression, but he did not ask further. I really liked my original family. When they told me that I wasn't their biological child, I felt like the sky was going to collapse. But with the Ning family's power, I don't have a choice. If I had resisted with all my might, there might have been a glimmer of hope that I would not have left. But Chapter 144. Ningxi sighed. But I fell in love with a man at that time, and I needed someone who could match him. Lu Tingxiao's eyes flickered. Was it Su Yin? Ningxi nodded and then said with a smile, Are you surprised that I got to know a young master like Su Yin with my status? In case Lu Tingxiao guessed it again, Ningxi didn't keep him guessing. She answered her own question. Because Su Yin had poor lungs when he was a child. He came here to recuperate and lived next door for 7 years. The first time we met, I happened to pass by and saw him having a heart attack, so I helped him carry him home. Later on, they gradually got to know each other. They met, got to know each other, fell in love, childhood sweethearts, and became carefree young lovers. But in the end, reality told me that it was not the story of Cinderella and the prince, but the story of Mr. Donghua and the wolf. Don't be sad. He doesn't deserve you. Lu Tingxiao comforted her. Ningxi didn't expect that she would talk about her ex-boyfriend with Lu Tingxiao. She scratched her head and said embarrassedly, Let's talk about the Ning family. Ning Yaohua and Zhuang Lingyu couldn't bear to part with Ning Shueluo, who had been raised by them for 18 years. So they didn't return Ning Shueluo to the Tang family. Ning Shueluo was still the apple of the Ning family's eye. You can imagine what happened next. The gap of 18 years can't be made up overnight. In front of Ning Shueluo, who had been educated by a rich family for 18 years, I was just a country girl. I was so naive that I treated her as a friend at first. But she took advantage of my trust and tricked me into using lemonade to wash my hands. She gave me a fake dress to wear at the banquet. She used these little tricks to push me out of the Ning family and out of the social circle. Those people in the circle were already familiar with Ning Shueluo, and they were from the same country as her. On the surface, they treated me as a friend, but in private, they all laughed at me for being a country bumpkin. Even my biological parents hated my existence and felt that I was a stain on their family. Then came Su Yin. After Su Yin, the most important thing for a girl, her reputation and dignity, was trampled on. Ningxi slowly held her knees. Today, there was a problem with the props. My sword accidentally hurt Ning Shueluo. In the hospital, my mother, my biological mother, slapped me without saying a word. My biological father also endlessly criticized and threatened me. Ningxi stared blankly at the dark night outside the window, her voice faintly discernible. At that time, I don't know why, but the nerves in my mind that had been tense for 5 years suddenly collapsed. I suddenly felt that everything was meaningless. I felt that I was a failure. Was it because I was so terrible that everyone hated me? I've worked so hard for so long, but is there any meaning in it? As soon as she finished speaking, Lu Tingxiao suddenly pulled her shoulders hard. Ningxi, look at me. No, everyone hates you. They're the worst. Understand? Ningxi's eyes reddened. Even if she always acted like she didn't care about anything, she was still just a little girl in her 20s. Lu Tingxiao pulled her into his arms and gently kissed the top of her head. Ningxi felt a slight weight on her head, but she didn't know what it was. Lu Tingxiao stared at her with a serious look. Ningxi, if you doubt yourself, then try to believe me. You're good. There's no one better than you in this world. Ningxi smiled through her tears. Of course I believe Boss Lu. Lu Tingxiao breathed a sigh of relief. At that moment, the despair in her eyes made him panic. After a moment of silence, Lu Tingxiao took the initiative to ask, Ningxi, can I ask you a question? Chapter 145. What? Ningxi tilted her head. Was it because he liked someone, so no matter what she did, he would think she was cute? Lu Tingxiao couldn't help rubbing her head again. Do you like diamonds? Huh. Ningxi hadn't expected him to ask such a strange question. Why do you ask? It's your birthday today. Xiaobao prepared a birthday present for you. I think it's a diamond. He was worried that you wouldn't like it, so I asked him, Lu Tingxiao said calmly. I see. Ningxi scratched her head and said, well, all women like diamonds, right? It's just my birthday. It's not nice for a kid to give me such an expensive gift. I don't want it. It's better to make some handicrafts. Lu Tingxiao pretended to say casually, it's not a valuable thing. The one you received on set the other day is a treasure. I'm afraid you won't like anything else after seeing that one. Ningxi face-bombed. You know about it too. Gossip travels 1,000 miles. Don't compare yourself with that weirdo. He's crazy. Is he your boyfriend? Lu Tingxiao asked. Ningxi almost choked on her own saliva. Pfft. How could it be? Why would you have such a terrible idea? Because you were very intimate with him, Lu Tingxiao said, sounding a little sad. Ningxi had a headache. Oh my God. How was I intimate? Did I call him crazy to show affection? Lu Tingxiao nodded. For me, yes. You've always been very polite to me. You've never said anything harsh to me. Ningxi didn't know what to say. Was Demon King Lu secretly a jerk? How could he like her to be rude to him? Anyway, that guy has nothing to do with me now. He is crazy. He just likes to throw diamonds at people. I'll definitely hit him back when I see him someday, Ningxi said lightly, but there was a hint of fear in her eyes when she mentioned that guy. If not now, then in the past? Lu Tingxiao caught the key point. Ningxi coughed lightly. Well, maybe we dated before. If one day is counted, inexplicably, Ningxi cared about Lu Tingxiao's thoughts about her. She scratched her head and said, Lu Tingxiao, do you think it's bad that I've dated so many men? Lu Tingxiao's face was solemn, as if he was answering a very important question. No. Everyone has their own way of life, and they have their own unknown stories. Anyone who doesn't know the truth has no reason to stand on the moral high ground and criticize others. Ningxi's heart warmed, and she chuckled. Lu Tingxiao, why do I feel like you're my die-hard fan? No matter what I say or do, you always think I'm right? Die-hard fan? Lu Tingxiao didn't quite understand what the term meant. Yes, it's the kind of irrational fans who support their idols regardless of right or wrong. Ningxi explained. Lu Tingxiao pondered for a moment and then muttered, that's very appropriate. Ningxi deliberately suppressed her emotions and remained silent. After a long while, she let out a long sigh. Lu Tingxiao, do you know? What? Do you know that you're even scarier than an aphrodisiac? Ningxi looked conflicted, then she pulled at her collar with a pained expression. Chapter 146. Damn it. She had chatted for so long, but it was all for nothing. Why was this guy flirting with girls at the drop of a hat? The scariest thing was that he still looked innocent and didn't realize it at all. As the saying goes, no move is better than a move. No flirting is more flirting. This was the highest level of flirting. Pooey, pooey, pooey. Her mind was already in a mess and she didn't know what she was thinking about. Are you feeling unwell again? Lu Tingxiao immediately revealed a nervous expression. Ningxi rubbed her throbbing temples. It was not as simple as just discomfort. The frenzy that was set off again was even scarier than at the beginning. At this moment, in her eyes, Lu Tingxiao was just like the male protagonist in a girl's anime, with his own sensational background music and romantic pink cherry blossom special effects. The rationality in her heart clashed violently with the bewitching pink glow. She felt like she was about to go berserk. Seeing that Ningxi had suddenly become short of breath and was sweating profusely, Lu Tingxiao's expression changed. Where are you feeling uncomfortable? Didn't you feel better just now? Is it that kind of discomfort, or something else? Lu Tingxiao said awkwardly as he recalled what she had said earlier. She had said that he was scarier than an aphrodisiac. That was probably the biggest compliment he had ever heard. Ningxi's eyes glowed red as she stared at him unblinkingly. Lu Tingxiao felt as though his body was on fire when she stared at him like that. Ningxi shook her head hard and threw herself onto the big bed behind her. She looked up at the ceiling helplessly. Sigh. I feel like I have a long night ahead. Lu Tingxiao, if I can't hold it in later, remember to knock me out? Lu Tingxiao pondered. Actually, I can. Ningxi immediately interrupted him. Stop, stop, stop. Please, Mr. Boss, spare me. I really can't take your flirting anymore. Lu Tingxiao raised his brows. What are you thinking about? I mean, I can go out. Oh. Ningxi touched her nose awkwardly and stammered. But if I stay alone, I'll be bored. She was too embarrassed to say the word afraid. Lu Tingxiao understood her uneasiness and asked gently, Why don't we go home? Go home. Ningxi was stunned. The moment she heard these two words, she actually immediately thought of the Lu residence. Forget it. I look like this now. She didn't want to bring such filth there. Ningxi glanced at the documents and laptop beside Lu Tingxiao's bed and said, Just do your work. I'll meditate and regulate my breathing for a while so that my internal energy won't run amok. Lu Tingxiao chuckled. Okay. In the quiet guest room, the rhythmic sound of fingers tapping on the keyboard could be heard, like the most gentle, soothing melody in the world. The girl's expression was peaceful as she slowly closed her eyes. Feeling the steady and long breathing beside him, Lu Tingxiao stopped what he was doing and carefully covered her with the blanket. The girl smacked her lips and subconsciously grabbed his finger, muttering, Lu Tingxiao. Lu Tingxiao's body trembled, and his expression changed greatly. She was calling his name. Don't be afraid. I'm here. Lu Tingxiao bent down and gently kissed the corner of the girl's lips. However, the gentleness between her brows was mixed with scattered dark clouds. Chapter 147. Ningxi, what should I do? I'm not as good as you think I am. Sometimes I'm really afraid that you'll look at me with such trusting eyes. If one day you find that I'm not as good as you think, will you leave me? At 5:00 in the morning, Lu Tingxiao was woken up by the doorbell. As soon as he opened the door, he saw Lu Jingli standing outside anxiously. Brother, don't scold me. It's really urgent this time. If you don't go back, your Xiaobao will destroy the house. They can't contact you and Ningxi can't get through to you, so they can only call me. At this time, Ningxi's sober voice came from behind. What's wrong with Xiaobao? I'll go back right away. Within 10 seconds, she picked up the bag and helped Lu Tingxiao pack up his things. Let's go, let's go. The three of them quickly rushed back to the Lu's house. As soon as they entered the yard, Ningxi was dumbfounded. What's going on? What are those? Ningxi rubbed her eyes and looked in surprise at those humanoid objects flashing with silver metal light walking around. She felt that she had crossed into another dimension. Lu Jingli blinked. Can't you see it? Robots. Ningxi almost went crazy. Of course I can see it. But why are there so many robots? Lu Jingli said with a headache. This is one of Xiaobao's hobbies, but he hasn't taken them out for a long time. Now he's stimulated and released them all. It's like a scene of zombies besieging a city. There were dozens of those robots at the scene, and they were destroying everywhere at the moment. They dug the ground, ran wildly, hit trees, destroyed flowers, and one of them even lifted a little maid up. Accompanied by the exclamations of the servants, the scene was chaotic. Seeing that the little maid was about to fall from the robot's hands, Ningxi opened the door and rushed over to catch the girl before she fell to the ground. Are you all right, Wanwan? Wanwan patted her chest in shock and then looked at Ningxi gratefully. Thank you, Miss Xiaoxi. Miss Xiaoxi, you're finally back. Go and see young master. In the Lu's mansion, the servants, especially the maids, had a repulsive and vigilant attitude towards Ningxi, but they didn't dare to show it in front of Ningxi. Only Wanwan had a good impression of Ningxi because she often went to the crew to help Xiaobao deliver juice to Ningxi. After getting along with her for a long time, Wanwan felt that Ningxi was not arrogant because she was spoiled by young Master Xiao and young Master Xiao. She was modest and easy to talk to. Seeing Ningxi save the damsel in distress, Lu Tingxiao, who was sitting in the car, looked rather helpless. Lu Jingli stuck his head out of the window and wailed, "Little Cece, you can't do this to me. You stole my job." Roar. Help. As he spoke, one of his arms was clamped by one of the robots. Brother, save me. Hurry up and turn these things off. Lu Jingli, who had just been clamoring to be a hero and save the damsel in distress, was now begging for help. Lu Tingxiao had a helpless expression on his face. Xiaobao changed the program last time. Even if I could crack it, it would take me an hour. 1 hour. My hand will be crippled. Ah, it hurts. Where is Xiaobao now? Ningxi asked hurriedly. He should be in the computer room. Lu Tingxiao quickly got out of the car. I'll take you there. Okay. The two hurried in the direction of the computer room. Lu Jingli looked at the two's backs as they left. Hurry up, you two. Chapter 148. After a while, Lu Tingxiao asked the butler to prepare an open car that looked like a sightseeing car and quickly took her to a detached building behind the golf course. The shape of the house was very strange. It looked like it was made of glass or some unknown metal. At first glance, one could tell that it was very high-tech and futuristic. The Lu's house was so big that she hadn't been to the whole place. It was the first time she had been here. There is a mechanical device at the bottom of the building which can rotate with the sun. The outer layer of the building is made of solar panels, and all the energy inside comes from solar energy. The butler and servants are all robots. Lu Tingxiao explained as a tour guide. So cool. Ningxi's face lit up, and she was as excited as a child. You can come here often if you like. I'll set up the access rights for you later. I thought you wouldn't be interested in these things, so I didn't bring you here, Lu Tingxiao said. No. I love these things. When I was a child, I always dreamed of being taken away by an alien spaceship. When I grew up, I even dreamed of falling in love with a robot. It's so romantic. Lu Tingxiao. Why didn't he give her the access rights? They walked to the door and saw a robot lying on the ground. Its eyes suddenly glowed red, and it seemed to be shooting at Ningxi and Lu Tingxiao. After shooting at Lu Tingxiao, the robot struggled and made a sizzling sound. Aster. This robot that kept calling out Master intermittently, looking like it wanted to snitch but couldn't speak, was probably the butler of this computer room. Lu Tingxiao sighed and opened the door behind the robot. He didn't know what he did, but the robot's eyes darkened and it stopped responding. Ningxi nervously went over and touched it. Why isn't it moving? Is it dead? Oh no. Is it scrapped? It's okay. I'll fix it later. Ningxi breathed a sigh of relief. Oh, that's good. It's a pity. It's quite handsome. Lu Tingxiao. Just let it be scrapped. Lu Tingxiao directly entered the main building. Ningxi followed him and looked around anxiously. Where is Xiaobao? The hall was full of robots patrolling back and forth. When they found Ningxi and Lu Tingxiao, they immediately turned to face them. Then, they ignored Lu Tingxiao and pounced on Ningxi. Ah, what do they want to do? Why are they all coming for me? Ningxi was shocked. No matter how good she was, she couldn't beat the impregnable robot. Lu Tingxiao stretched his arms under her armpits and gently lifted her from one side to the other, dodging the mechanical claws of one of the robots. He said helplessly, because you don't have permission, they treat you as an intruder. What do we do now? Ningxi had been swung around by Lu Tingxiao several times. Come closer to me, Lu Tingxiao ordered. How close? Ningxi was at a loss. Xiaobao is in the control room on the top floor. We have two choices now. First, defeat them and force your way in. How are we supposed to fight so many of them? What about the second one? Just looking at the material made her hands hurt. She didn't want to fight with them. Secondly, Lu Tingxiao lowered his eyes and looked at her. I'll carry you up because they won't attack me. Ningxi blinked and reached out without hesitation. Hug. Chapter 149. Seeing the girl open her arms to him for the first time, Lu Tingxiao's cold eyes rippled. Here it comes again. Lu Tingxiao, hurry up. Ningxi had already taken the initiative to throw herself at him. Sure enough, as soon as she stuck to Lu Tingxiao, the robots didn't dare to touch her. Amazing. The soft and fragrant body suddenly threw itself at him. Lu Tingxiao was dazed for a moment before he reacted. He bent over and picked her up, then walked step by step towards the spiral staircase. This should be the first time he was so close to her when she was awake. He really hoped this road would never come to an end. If Lu Jingli knew what his brother was thinking at this moment. Well, as Lu Tingxiao and Ning Shi went upstairs, the robots kept following them, keeping a distance between them. In order to keep her balance, Ning Shi put her arms around the man's neck and breathed in his cold and pleasant scent. Looking at the large group of robots following them on the winding staircase behind them, she inexplicably felt that this scene was too romantic. But this pink bubble didn't last long. Just as they successfully reached the top floor and were about to open the silver-white door, the robots behind them suddenly made a clanking sound and then stretched out their iron arms toward them. As the arms stretched and retracted, a muzzle-like firing trajectory appeared from within. Ning Shi turned pale with fright. Fuck, are you serious? I thought they were just toys. Was it really good to let a 5-year-old play with such dangerous and lethal things? She didn't know how to complain about Lu Tingxiao's way of raising children. What should we do now? Ning Shi was about to cry. They just came to find Xiao Bao. Why did they have to go through so many difficulties? It was like playing a game. Lu Tingxiao held her shoulders and pushed her against the door behind her. Then, he stood in front of her with one arm behind her. Ning Shi was silent for 3 seconds. She swallowed and said faintly, "Boss, do you know that your posture is very good?" Bai Dong? This was obviously another word that Lu Tingxiao didn't understand. Ning Shi held her forehead. Invisible flirting was the deadliest. At this moment, Ning Shi suddenly saw a robot firing a bullet straight at Lu Tingxiao's back from the corner of her eye. Lu Tingxiao, be careful. But it was too late. Lu Tingxiao protected her tightly, and his body let out a muffled groan. Lu Tingxiao, Ning Shi panicked. I'm fine. Lu Tingxiao slowly raised his head. How could he be fine? Lu Tingxiao, how are you? I'll take you there. Ning Shi suddenly felt nauseous. Lu Tingxiao, you stink. What's so smelly? Lu Tingxiao's face darkened as he took off his jacket. There was a sticky and disgusting thing on the back of his suit jacket. Ning Shi covered her nose. Knowing that he was fine, she breathed a sigh of relief. At the same time, she said speechlessly, "What is this? Is it shit?" Lu Tingxiao threw his coat downstairs and said expressionlessly, "Canned herring. It's said to be the smelliest canned food in the world." It was Lu Jingli's idea. The corners of Ning Shi's mouth twitched. Second young master is really talented. It's not just smelly, it's a biological weapon. As soon as she finished speaking, the door behind her automatically opened to both sides. Chapter 150. Let's go. Lu Tingxiao took her hand and walked inside. His movement was very natural. Ning Shi looked at their interlocked hands. Although she knew that Lu Tingxiao was just afraid that there would be another accident, she still had a strange feeling in her heart. The light in this main control room was very dim, with only dozens of operating computers glowing faintly. Ning Shi followed Lu Tingxiao and finally found Xiao Bao next to the largest machine. She saw that under the huge machine entangled with countless wires, Xiao Bao was sitting in a small custom-made chair for him, staring numbly at the screen with countless flashing programs. Next to him stood a small robot about the same size as him, pointing the gun in its hand straight in the direction of her and Lu Tingxiao. Looking at the cold and dull expression on Xiao Bao's face, Ning Shi felt that her heart seemed to be tightly strangled by an iron claw, so painful that she could hardly breathe. "Xiao Bao," she called softly and tremblingly. The little guy stared at the screen, without the slightest response. Ning Shi was really scared. She had only heard about it from Lu Tingchuan and the others, but she had never seen Xiao Bao when he was autistic. What should I do? It's all my fault. Ning Shi, don't blame yourself. It's all right. It's very common for him to be like this. Just call him a few more times. Lu Tingxiao comforted her. In fact, Lu Tingxiao said so because it was Ning Shi. If it were someone else, it wouldn't be so simple. Ning Shi tried to calm herself down and approached him cautiously step by step. The head of the little robot turned with her movements, but Xiao Bao still didn't respond at all. Ningxi walked up to Xiaobao, then slowly squatted down and carefully took his little hand. Xiaobao, Auntie is back. Sorry, something happened to Annie last night, so I couldn't come back. Ningxi couldn't explain to him what had happened, so she could only hang her head sadly. After an unknown period of time, a small fist suddenly appeared in her line of sight. Then, the little fist slowly opened, and there was a pink hairpin lying quietly in the soft palm. The hair clip was a heart made of about 100 small pink diamonds. It shone brightly under the cold light of the machine. This is... Ningxi immediately raised her head, surprised and delighted. Although the little guy's face was still expressionless, Lu Tingxiao glanced at the hair clip in his son's palm and said, "This is Xiaobao's birthday present for you." For me, it was really a diamond. Ningxi was in a dilemma. Lu Tingxiao saw through her thoughts and promptly explained, "It's just an ordinary water diamond. It's not worth much," but Xiaobao personally glued the 99 water diamonds one by one. After hearing this, Ningxi was immediately moved. She didn't take the hairpin, but said to Xiaobao, "Can you help Annie put it on?" Xiaobao somewhat sluggishly shifted his gaze to the hairpin. Then, he reached out his little hand and clumsily put the hairpin on her ear. Ningxi touched the clip happily. "Does it look good?" Xiaobao nodded. Finally getting little Bao's response, Ningxi couldn't bear it any longer and pulled the little fellow into her arms. At the same time, with a bang, the little robot next to him shot out a bunch of colorful streamers and played a happy birthday song. Ningxi's eyes were wet, and she looked up at the colorful stripes flying all over the sky. "Thank you, baby. This is the most romantic birthday I've ever had in my life." Chapter 151. Little Bun had meticulously prepared a birthday present and surprise for her. At the beginning, her heart was filled with expectations, but her expectations were slowly dashed, and then she panicked and scared when she couldn't contact her. How cruel must this be for him? Thinking of this, Ningxi felt as if a knife was twisting in her heart. She didn't want to let go of Xiaobao for even a moment. Lu Tingxiao didn't want to disturb them, but for the sake of their brotherhood, he reminded them. "Ningxi, ask Xiaobao to call those robots back." Oh, right. Ningxi just remembered that there was a group of bear robots in front of them tearing down the house. Lu Jingli's arm was still in their hands. Thus, he hurriedly said to the little bun, "Baby, can you call them back?" Xiaobao nodded, then faced the screen, his short fingers nimbly typing on the keyboard. Ningxi was amazed and exclaimed in admiration, "Baby, why are you so amazing? I thought you only knew how to draw. It was really, really, really amazing. I've been a top student in recent years. I've been crazy about learning everything, but this is the only thing I can't learn no matter what. Programming, C++, it's my nightmare. But you're only 5 years old. He was so good at playing. He's a genius." Little Bun's expression was still wooden, but the light in his eyes was much brighter. However, Lu Tingxiao couldn't stand it anymore. He sighed and said, "Ningxi, you shouldn't praise him now." Yes. Ningxi finally realized that Xiaobao had gotten into big trouble. She scratched her head awkwardly and looked at Lu Tingxiao. "You're not asking me to teach him not to do this again, are you? He did what he promised me. He didn't go on a hunger strike, and he didn't throw things around. In the end, his methods became more advanced. What if I tell him not to do it this time, and he comes up with a more advanced method next time?" Lu Tingxiao. This was indeed possible for Xiaobao. Ningxi spread out her hands. "In conclusion, I think I'd better not talk about him." Actually, out of selfishness, she also didn't want to scold little Bun under such circumstances today. Her heart ached too much for him, and she couldn't even wait to dote on him. How could she bear to say anything harsh to him? Fortunately, Lu Tingxiao didn't force her. Basically, in front of Ningxi, his principles were just floating clouds. The three of them returned to the entrance of the house on an open-top sightseeing bus. Ningxi was surprised to see that the noisy robots were all standing neatly in 2 rows, as if they were welcoming them. The scene was very spectacular. The only thing that spoiled the mood was the wailing at the top of his lungs. "Brother, why were you gone for so long? My fucking arm is dislocated." Is it worth it for you to howl like this even if your arm is dislocated? Ningxi rolled her eyes at him and jumped down. She grabbed his arm and pulled it up. Lu Jingli squealed like a pig being slaughtered. Ningxi patted his arm. Stop howling. It's done. Give it a try. Huh. Lu Jingli blinked his eyes and moved his arm. It was really healed. However, she was still worried and mumbled. You didn't connect me to the wrong channel, did you? Impossible. I'm very experienced. Ningxi was very confident. Lu Jingli looked suspicious. May I ask why you are so experienced in this kind of thing? Ningxi said, because he used to fight with Jiangmai a lot. His arm was dislocated several times, and it was me who put it back for him. Lu Jingli, are you sure it's a fight and not a one-sided beating? He was really worried about his brother's future. Would he be subjected to domestic violence in the future? Forget it. What was there to worry about? Even if he was raped, he would be willing to endure it. Chapter 152. Ever since Ningxi came back, Little Bun had completely turned on his pet mode. He followed her wherever she went, not leaving her side at all. In the living room downstairs, Lu Jingli also turned on his pet mode, following Lu Tingxiao wherever he went. Brother, dear brother, what have you been doing all night? Lu Tingxiao sat down on the sofa with a cup of coffee in his hand. Chatting, Lu Jingli choked and was as disappointed as a puppy who didn't get a bone. Well, forget it. How's the thing I asked you to do? Lu Tingxiao asked. Lu Jingli immediately switched to the serious mode and said seriously, it has started. Within a month, Zhu Xiangqing's Fengrui real estate will be removed from the capital. What about Ningxi? Lu Jingli sorted out his thoughts and said, the crew blocked the news at that time, so I didn't know it in time. As for now, the person who set it up will not let the news continue to be blocked. Now it has spread on the internet. What's worse, the prop master testified in the interview that it was Ningxi who bribed him to tamper with the props. So it's not just a matter of public opinion. If Ning Shualuo files the case, Ningxi may be taken to the police for investigation. The hostility between Lu Tingxiao's eyebrows was overwhelming. What he was sitting on was not a sofa but a throne made of skulls. He spat out each word as cold as ice. I'd like to see who dares. No. Sister-in-law has your support. No one can touch her. Lu Jingli hurried to appease him and then said positively, brother, don't worry. I've had people secretly put eavesdropping and monitoring devices in the prop master's house. During this time, he will definitely contact the person behind the scenes. We don't need to worry about not getting evidence. At that time, it's hard to say who will go to the police station. Lu Tingxiao seemed to be dissatisfied and knocked on the tea table with his fingers. Efficiency. Lu Jingli was not convinced and muttered, that's a good way. How is it inefficient? Lu Tingxiao took out a gun from the secret compartment under the TV cabinet and threw it to him. Lu Jingli's mouth twitched. Damn, that's too simple and crude. It's not skillful at all. As the two of them were talking, the sound of footsteps came from above. Lu Tingxiao put the gun back without batting an eyelid, then looked up at the person with a gentle gaze. Xiao Bao is asleep? Yeah, I've finally coaxed him to sleep. Ningxi answered and said anxiously, well, Lu Tingxiao, I have to go out to deal with something urgent. I've left a note for Xiao Bao and my cell phone is fully charged. You can contact me at any time. I'll be back in 3 hours at most. I won't say any more. See you later. After that, he ran away like a gust of wind. Lu Jingli touched his chin. Brother, where is sister-in-law going in such a hurry? Lu Tingxiao looked at the direction in which the girl had left, then said to Lu Jingli, get someone to follow her. It was definitely not simple for Ningxi to suddenly leave at this time. If it wasn't for the fact that Xiao Bao wasn't suited to stay at home alone, he would definitely go by himself. Why are you still looking for someone? I'll go. Lu Jingli immediately accepted the task happily. Lu Jingli drove a low-key black car home and barely managed to keep up with Ningxi, who was riding a motorcycle. 20 minutes later, he stopped in front of the small apartment building where Ningxi used to live. He paid attention to the movements there and reported the situation to Lu Tingxiao. Chapter 153. When Ningxi returned to the apartment, she immediately moved out an iron suitcase from the bottom of the wardrobe and then carefully checked and wiped the things inside. Looking at the time on the cell phone, Ningxi put the things in her bag and hurried downstairs. Not far away, Lu Jingli reported to the person on the other end of the Bluetooth headset while driving. Ningxi went back to the apartment and came down in less than 5 minutes. Now she is heading for the suburbs of Shijiang Road. Half an hour later, Ningxi finally stopped. Lu Jingli looked around the dilapidated house and then looked surprised. Ah, isn't this the place where Zhang Chong, the prop master, lives? Why did Ningxi come here alone? Is she going to reason with him? She is too naive. Turn on the monitor. The man's cold voice came from the other end of the Bluetooth headset. Oh yes, I almost forgot. Lu Jingli hurriedly took the laptop from the back seat of the car. Brother, wait. I'll do a live broadcast on my cell phone. Before Lu Jingli finished speaking, he suddenly found that his computer couldn't be operated. His face suddenly darkened. Brother, you hacked my computer. I told you I'll do a live broadcast on my cell phone. Don't be so anxious. Zhang Chong's salary in the crew was okay, but because of his gambling habit, he not only had no savings, but also owed a lot of debts, so he lived in this suburban slum. Ningxi heard this when he was drinking and chatting with others on the crew. Dong, dong, dong. Ningxi knocked on the door 3 times. There was no movement inside. Ningxi continued to knock until there was a bang, followed by the sound of slippers rubbing against the ground. The rusty iron door was pulled open from the inside. Who the hell is it? You want to die so early in the morning? Zhang Chong suddenly changed his face when he saw it was Ningxi outside the door. Mr. Zhang, how have you been? Ningxi looked at him with a smile. Zhang Chong wanted to close the door directly, but he rolled his eyes and changed his mind. He said lazily, I was wondering who it was. It turned out to be the beauty Ning. Come in. As soon as Ningxi entered the room, she smelled a foul stench. The pungent smell of alcohol mixed with the smell of stinky socks and mold was as lethal as the canned herring in the morning. Feel free to sit. Zhang Chong lights a cigarette, and then his turbid eyes are glued to Ningxi's body, sweeping over every part of her body. Ningxi sat down on the only clean chair in the room and went straight to the point. A straightforward person doesn't beat around the bush. Teacher Zhang, I don't think I need to tell you why I'm here. I need your statement. Please tell me everything truthfully. Ningxi Luo directed and acted on her own. I didn't bribe you to frame her. Zhang Chong looked at her with a smile, as if he had seen through her. Little girl, did you turn on the recording? Are you trying to trick me? Hee hee, you're too inexperienced. I'm sorry, but what I told the reporters was the truth. Zhang Chong looked like a dead pig not afraid of boiling water, and then a glimmer of light flashed in his eyes. Unless you can afford it. Ningxi narrowed her eyes. She had already expected this. After Zhang Chong got the money from Ningxi Luo, he would definitely not run away, but continue to gamble. In the end, he would probably lose everything. And now he wanted to eat both ends. Chapter 154. What if I don't agree? Ningxi looked at him with a faint smile. Zhang Chong's eyes wandered between her breasts and buttocks. He touched his chin and said, I don't have money. I have a way. If Beauty Ning can sleep with me once, I can reveal some interesting things to you. He was clearly hinting that if she wanted a confession, she had to pay him or sleep with him. In fact, with Zhang Chong's cunning personality, even if she satisfied him, he would not give her a confession. Then she would lose both her money and herself. At the same time, in the car downstairs, Lu Jingli, who saw this scene on the monitor, nervously reminded his brother on the other end of the headset, Brother, take it easy. Don't get excited. Don't get excited. Be gentle to my little notebook. I have hundreds of gigabytes of treasures in my hard drive. Go upstairs, now. The voice in the headset ordered. Yes, yes. I'll go right away. Seeing Zhang Chong approaching Ningxi step by step, Lu Jingli runs wildly with his laptop in his arms. At the same time, Zhang Chong walked to Ningxi's chair and put his arms on the armrest. His breathing became rapid. What do you think? Is this a good deal? Not only can you get what you want, but you can also have fun. Ningxi lowered her eyes, her expression hidden in the shadows. Her red lips overflowed with a sneer. The next second, Zhang Chang felt something cold and hard on his waist. He looked down, and his face instantly turned pale. It was a black muzzle pointing at him. You. Zhang Chang's first reaction was to run. But Ningxi's cold voice came from behind. Run? Let's see which is faster, you or my bullet. Zhang Chang was sweating profusely. He turned around stiffly and then laughed easily. Little girl, I was almost scared by you. You lied to me with a toy gun? Shoot. Shoot if you can. Come on, shoot here. Ningxi's fingers moved slightly. She put a silencer in the shape of a black tube on the muzzle and pressed the trigger. Puff! The bullet flew past Zhang Chang's arm and drew a dazzling spark on the ground. All of this happened in less than 3 seconds. Zhang Chang covered his burning arm and knelt on the ground. Sister. Big sis, calm down. This was a real gun. I'm not joking. Confession. Ningxi threw a recording pin over and looked at the time on the phone impatiently. Xiaobao was still sleeping at home. If he woke up early and didn't see her, he would definitely be worried again. She still had to rush back to accompany Xiaobao. I'll record it now. Zhang Chang scrambled to pick up the recording pin and pressed the button to start recording. It's not Ningxi. Ningxi didn't bribe me. The one who gave me money to tamper with the sword was someone else. But I don't know who he is. I received an anonymous email. The other party asked me to do this and directly deposited 100,000 yuan into my account, saying that he would give me another 100,000 yuan after the job is done. Zhang Chang said as he peeped at Ningxi carefully. The woman in front of him looked extremely impatient and gloomy. Her eyes were bloodshot, and her fingers stroked the barrel of the gun in a neurotic manner. She looked like a psychopathic homicidal maniac, which made one's hair stand on end. Chapter 155. Lu Jingli, who was about to rush in to save her, was stunned when he saw the 180-degree reversal of the situation on the monitor. You're alone. You actually brought a gun with you. Fuck. If I'm not mistaken, that gun is a Boletta 92F. Where did she get it? Lu Jingli's face was full of disbelief. Then, a sad thought came to his mind. His second attempt to save the damsel in distress had failed. Inside the house, Zhang Chang stared at the gun in Ningxi's hand, for fear that she would shoot without saying a word, leaving no room for reaction. It was too cruel. I'm telling the truth. Not a word of falsehood. Otherwise, I'll be struck by lightning. Ningxi did not speak. He did not know whether she believed him or not. She spun the gun in her hand again and again. My dear lady, be careful not to misfire. Zhang Chang was so scared that he almost peed his pants. He quickly said, If you want me to falsely testify that it was that Ning Xuelua who ordered me to do it, I can. Unconditionally. I will satisfy all your conditions unconditionally, whoever you say it is. False testimony? What she wanted was solid evidence. Ningxi tapped her chin with the gun and said, Give me the bank account and the email that the other party sent you. Okay. It's in my computer. I'll get it now. But the email is anonymous, and even the account is an anonymous foreign account. I don't think it's useful to give it to you. Zhang Chang took out a laptop from under the blanket and showed her the email and the details of the remittance. Ningxi glanced at it. After making sure there was no problem, she said, This computer is mine. Do you have any objections? Zhang Chang shook his head vigorously. No. Just take it, my dear lady. Take whatever you want. Ningxi sneered. Heh, he had gone from calling her big sister to my dear lady. This kind of rascal would not listen to reason with you. If you tried to negotiate with him, he would be insatiable. If you tried to play tricks, he would be even more cunning. The only way to deal with him was to use violence against violence. This was the first time she had used this gun since returning to the country. It was impossible for her not to be nervous. Fortunately, she had acting skills. As long as she thought she was acting, she could instantly calm down. He casually picked the role of a psychopathic murderer and acted it out. It seemed that the effect was not bad. Acting was her favorite career, and it was also her way of protecting herself. Then, Grandaunt, is there anything else? Zhang Chang saw that she still didn't want to leave, and nervously swallowed his saliva. Ningxi looked at him thoughtfully. I'll think about it. About what? Of course I'm considering whether or not I should silence you. What if you tell others that I tortured you? Ningxi said matter-of-factly, and her expression looked very serious. Zhang Chang's legs softened, and he almost knelt down again. How is that possible? Even if you lend me 100 guts, I still wouldn't dare. What he said was true. His character was to bully the weak and fear the strong. This time, Ningxi had scared him enough. He had never thought that such a delicate little girl could have such a scary side. He didn't even dare to look into her gloomy eyes, for fear that he would have nightmares at night. Ningxi chuckled and patted his cheek with the gun. Don't worry. I won't silence you. I'll even give you money. Chapter 156. Zhang Chang's first reaction was to beg for mercy. I don't want it. I don't want it. Grandaunt, please spare me. I was just talking nonsense. I wouldn't dare to take your money. Who said I was going to give you money? Ningxi kicked him. Zhang Chang rolled up and said innocently, but didn't you just say? He was about to be driven crazy by this person's mood swings. Ningxi glanced at him coldly. Stay at home and wait for my news. As long as you behave, I'll give you a lot of money. Otherwise, She still had to contact him? Hadn't he given her everything? Shouldn't they have nothing to do with each other? Why was he still being pestered? He didn't want money. He wanted his life more. Zhang Chang couldn't say anything, so he could only thank her and send her out. Downstairs, Ningxi put on her helmet, started the engine, and drove straight to the Lu's house. When she arrived at the Lu's house, it was an hour earlier than her appointment with Lu Tingxiao. When she entered the living room, Lu Tingxiao was still sitting on the sofa in the same position as when she left. Ningxi didn't think much of it and immediately asked, Lu Tingxiao, I'm back. Is Xiaobao awake? No. Oh, that's good. I'll go up and see him. Wait. Lu Tingxiao suddenly stopped her. What's wrong? Ningxi felt that there was something wrong with Lu Tingxiao's tone. Where did you go? Lu Tingxiao's tone was calm, but it gave the illusion that there was an undercurrent in it. Ningxi subconsciously sensed the danger and hurriedly replied, I went to deal with some personal matters. It's all settled now. I'm going upstairs. She was about to slip away when an arm suddenly reached out. The next second, Ningxi was suddenly pulled by a strong force and fell onto the sofa. To be exact, she fell into Lu Tingxiao's arms. Ningxi was startled. What surprised her even more was, Lu Tingxiao. You, what are you doing? Where are your hands? Lu Tingxiao ignored her and continued to grope her body. Hey, I'm going to resist if you keep doing this. Don't blame me if I hurt you. Then do it. Ningxi almost broke down. Fuck. Lu Tingxiao, what are you trying to do? Are you sure that I can't do anything to you? Lu Tingxiao stared at her expressionlessly. Why can't you do it to me? Because, yes. Why? If it was someone else, her first reaction would have been to beat them up. Just as Ningxi was racking her brains on how to answer this question, Lu Tingxiao's hand dangerously placed on an object behind her waist. Ningxi immediately wanted to stop him, but it was too late. The gun hidden behind her waist was instantly in Lu Tingxiao's hand. Lu Tingxiao directly threw the gun on the coffee table in front of him. His expression, which was usually incomparably gentle toward her, was now as cold as ice. The words he spat out were also like ice blades. Explain. Ningxi suddenly felt nervous, as if she had been caught cheating by the teacher on the spot. With a pale face, she twisted her fingers and tried to put on a relaxed expression. Haha, this is fake. A toy gun. I bought it for fun. Is that so? Does a toy gun need a silencer? Lu Tingxiao glanced at her, picked up the gun casually, and fired a shot at a palm-sized white jade vase placed in the opposite corner. Instantly, the vase shattered. The calm expression on Ningxi's face was the same as that broken vase. It was also broken. Chapter 157. There was a dead silence in the air. After a long while, Ningxi swallowed her saliva with difficulty and changed the topic incoherently. Haha. Sir Boss, your marksmanship is godly. Amazing. You're such a spendthrift. That vase must be very expensive, right? Lu Tingxiao's eyes were cold. You don't have to say it if you don't want to. Ningxi hung her head dejectedly. But you said it as if you would break off with me if I didn't tell the truth. That's not sincere at all. Did she have a second choice except to tell the truth? Ningxi sighed and could only explain to him, didn't I tell you that I accidentally hurt Ning Shualua because of a problem with the prop? Now the prop master said that I bribed him to tamper with the prop. Isn't he trying to push me to the edge? His words not only ruined my career, but also put me in jail. Lu Tingxiao stared at her. So? Ningxi coughed and stammered. So I forced him to tell the truth. Looking at her in different attitude, Lu Tingxiao's face darkened. Ningxi, do you know how dangerous it is for you to do this? You're a girl. Ningxi said sullenly. I know, but I had no other choice, didn't I? You don't know how shameless Zhangchang is. He can only be dealt with in such a simple and violent way. I said that if you need help, you can come to me. You would rather choose such a dangerous way than ask me? Lu Tingxiao's eyes were full of disappointment. His eyes made her heart ache inexplicably. This was the first time that Lu Tingxiao had been so angry with her. Ningxi was anxious. No. Finally, she sighed with a headache. I'm just used to it. Used to solving everything by herself and not relying on anyone. The two fell into silence again. Ahem, but how did you know I had a gun? Ningxi suddenly thought of it and asked suspiciously. Smell. Lu Tingxiao answered coldly. Oh, I see. Is it the smell of gunpowder? I didn't expect that boss had such a keen sense of smell. Ha. Lu Tingxiao's expression was still as cold as ice, and it was at the level of 1,000 years. Flattery failed. Ningxi said helplessly, Lu Tingxiao, it's not that I don't want to talk to you, but you don't need to deal with such a trivial matter. It's like killing a chicken with a butcher's knife. But there's something I really need your help with. You have to help me. You have to. I thought about it and decided that you were the only one who could help me. Even if you don't help me, I will definitely rely on you. This time, although Lu Tingxiao's face was still cold, he finally looked her in the eye. Speak. Ningxi heaved a sigh of relief and hurriedly said, It's like this. Although I got Zhangchang's confession, as well as the email and remittance details sent by the other party, these pieces of evidence could only clear my name. They could not find the person behind it. If he let her off so easily, he would be letting her off too easily. So, I thought, is there any way to crack their account information and IP address? Little Bao is so powerful at such a young age. It must be because of your excellent genes, Sir Boss. So, Sir Boss, you must be even more powerful in this aspect. You must have a way, right? Chapter 158. Right. Ningxi put her hands together, her eyes shining with expectation. On the one hand, she wanted to please Lu Tingxiao, and on the other hand, she really needed help. Lu Tingxiao was silent for 3 seconds, and then finally said, Yes? Really? Do you really have a way? Ningxi almost jumped up with excitement. How long will it take? 1. Lu Tingxiao wanted to say an hour, but he changed his words. 1 night? So fast. Great. Ningxi was overjoyed and hurriedly took out the laptop from her bag. This is the laptop I took from Zhangchang. Do you need anything else? I'll prepare it for you. No need. Lu Tingxiao got up and went straight upstairs. Ningxi immediately followed after him. When they arrived at the study, Ningxi trotted to help Lu Tingxiao pull out the chair, put the notebook on the desk in front of Lu Tingxiao, and ran to pour a glass of water for him. Lu Tingxiao glanced at her and then sat down in the chair. Lu Tingxiao took out his own laptop and connected the 2 computers with a data cable. After browsing the evidence, she said, he clicked on an unknown software and then entered a series of complex codes in the box on the screen. Ningxi curiously leaned on the table and leaned closer to take a look. Naturally, she couldn't understand it at all. She was confused and felt that it was awesome. Just as Lu Tingxiao was tapping, he suddenly heard a soft breath. His fingers suddenly stopped, and his brows furrowed. What's wrong? Is there a problem? Ningxi immediately asked nervously. Lu Tingxiao's tone was slightly cold. Stay away from me. Being so close to her would hinder his concentration. Oh, Ning, she suddenly lowered her head like a frosted eggplant and sadly moved to the sofa in the farthest corner of the room. Looking at the girl's pitiful look, Lu Tingxiao almost comforted her, but he finally held back. Holding a pillow in her arms, Ningxi quietly watched Lu Tingxiao's side profile as he worked seriously. It was said that a man was the most handsome when he was serious. For a moment, there was only the sound of keyboard tapping in the study. Ningxi sat there alone for a long time and finally couldn't help asking, Lu Tingxiao, can I ask you a question? Ask. Why didn't you ask me? Ask what? Ningxi clenched her fists. Ask about the gun. Aren't you going to ask me why I have a gun? Don't you think I'm different from what you imagine me to be? Don't you think I'm very scary? Lu Tingxiao. I don't think so. Ningxi. Oh, Lu Tingxiao didn't ask, but Ningxi felt guilty. He had always treated her as a friend and helped her unreservedly, but she had been hiding everything. Therefore, even though Lu Tingxiao didn't ask, Ningxi still took the initiative to say, you know, the security in China isn't very good, and it's legal to carry a gun there. I learned how to use a gun when I was there. However, in China, this gun was indeed obtained through irregular channels. I don't know the specifics, but it was given to me by a friend. He was the one who taught me how to shoot. I use it as a last resort to defend myself. This is the only time I've used it since returning to China. Lu Tingxiao stopped what he was doing. Who is your friend? Chapter 159. Hearing this question, Ningxi looked a little embarrassed. She scratched her head and said, I mentioned it to you. The ex-boyfriend I dated for a day, it was that man again. Since they had only been together for a day, why did they have so many connections? Lu Tingxiao's expression suddenly became extremely fierce. Do you know that the delivery channel of this kind of gun is monopolized by 3 organizations? No matter which organization your friend belongs to, he is a key target of the higher-ups. Including that diamond, it's very likely that it's not from a legitimate source. Ningxi lowered her head and mumbled, I know. You know? Lu Tingxiao's face became even darker. She knew why she was with that kind of man. She knew his background, which meant she was in a more dangerous situation. Ningxi hurriedly explained, his background may be a bit dangerous. I'm sorry I can't explain his specific identity to you, but I'm sure he won't hurt me. As soon as she finished speaking, she found that Lu Tingxiao's face was extremely dark. At this moment, Ningxi felt like a naughty child who had been caught doing something wrong by her parents. She was so nervous that she didn't even dare to breathe heavily. The devil's aura when he was angry was too terrifying. After a long while, Lu Tingxiao finally said, Give me the gun. Ningxi's words to protect that man almost destroyed his sanity. Oh. Ningxi obediently handed the gun to him. What do you want? Lu Tingxiao took it without hesitation. I'm confiscating it. Ningxi immediately threw herself at him and wailed, No, this is my amulet. I promise I won't play with it. I won't let anyone find out. Lu Tingxiao glanced at her coldly, opened the drawer, took out another gun, and handed it to her. Use this one from now on. Seeing the gun that Lu Tingxiao gave her, Ningxi's eyes immediately lit up. She couldn't tell what model it was, but she could tell it was not an ordinary gun. Can I take it apart? Ningxi asked cautiously. Looking at the girl's sparkling eyes, Lu Tingxiao nodded. After getting permission, Ningxi immediately dismantled the gun excitedly. After dismantling it, she looked at the internal structure in disbelief. P226? I've modified it to make it safer. Lu Tingxiao still didn't look too good. Because Ningxi's knowledge of firearms, how to use a gun, and disassembly and assembly methods were obviously taught by that man. Ningxi touched the gun fondly, then glanced at him weakly. Well, it's dangerous to have a 92F, but you actually got a P226, isn't that? It was said that the 92F was the best gun in the world, but very few people knew that the P226 was the best. It was only because of its high price that it wasn't as popular as the 92F. Lu Tingxiao's face turned cold. You think I'm in danger? Ningxi shook her head like a rattled drum. No, no, no. How could this be? Boss, you're the best. You are my little angel. Are you tired? Are your shoulders sore? I'll pinch it for you. You can do it. After saying that, she ran behind him and massaged his shoulders with all her might. Listening to the girl's sweet and soft voice, although he knew she was deliberately coaxing him to please him, Lu Tingxiao immediately calmed down. But soon, his expression tightened again. The girl's soft and boneless hands squeezed his shoulders with moderate strength. She even massaged his neck and temples in an extremely professional manner. The warm touch and the right amount of strength were very comfortable, but also very scary. Chapter 160. That's enough. Lu Tingxiao was forced to stop in order to prevent himself from losing control. Oh, Ningxi didn't think much of it and continued to study the gun. Then she looked at Lu Tingxiao uncertainly and asked, "This gun, are you really going to give it to me?" Lu Tingxiao said, "It's your birthday gift. This gift is really special." Ningxi gently touched the gun. "Thank you. I like it." This gun was indeed safer. Plus, it looked low-key. Unless it was dismantled, no one would be able to tell what kind of gun it was. It was much more convenient to use. Ningxi looked at the gun and her eyes turned red. "Lu Tingxiao, thank you. No one has ever been so nice to me." Lu Tingxiao's heart skipped a beat. Just as he was about to speak, Ningxi said emotionally, "I feel like a father." Lu Tingxiao was speechless. This evaluation was high enough, but he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "It's so late. You must be hungry. I'll make you supper." After Ningxi eagerly ran out, Lu Tingxiao quietly dismantled the gun. As he expected, the serial number had been erased. However, the identity of the other party had been reduced. 10 minutes later, Ningxi came in with a bowl of steaming food. "Lu Tingxiao, are the dumplings okay? I saw that there were leftovers in the fridge, so I made some for you." "Leave it." "Okay." Seeing how busy Lu Tingxiao was, Ningxi felt a little guilty, so she picked up the bowl and said, "Let me feed you." Lu Tingxiao frowned. He wanted to refuse but couldn't bring himself to say it out loud. "I'll feed you. I'll feed you. Just do what you need to do." Ningxi quickly picked up a dumpling and carefully blew on it before bringing it to his mouth. Lu Tingxiao stared at the computer screen with a solemn expression. He opened his mouth and ate the dumpling expressionlessly. "Why didn't I find it so delicious last time?" Ningxi continued to feed the dumplings one by one until the bowl was empty. "Take a break. I'm almost done." Lu Tingxiao returned Zhang Chong's computer to him and began to concentrate on his own computer. "Oh, okay." Ningxi sat on the sofa in the corner with her laptop. Because she was bored, she looked through Zhang Chong's computer to see if she could find any other clues. In the end, she actually found it. She found a folder labeled Important Secret in the D drive. After opening it, she found that there were many video files inside. Could it be that the fellow had hidden some evidence from her? Ningxi clicked on one of the videos suspiciously. As soon as she clicked on it, Ningxi felt that something was wrong, but it was too late for her to react. The next second, there was a burst of blushing and heart-pounding sounds coming from the computer, which sounded abnormally clear in the quiet study. Ningxi, Lu Tingxiao. Ningxi wanted to dig a hole and bury herself in it. Because she was too flustered, she couldn't turn off the video even after clicking it several times. In the end, Lu Tingxiao couldn't stand it anymore. He walked over and reached out to help her turn it off. Ningxi threw the computer away and said in a complaining tone, "There's a document on his computer labeled as Important Confidential. I thought it was some evidence. Damn, I should have known. In a man's computer, this kind of suspicious folder must be this kind of thing." Looking at the girl's indignant look, Lu Tingxiao pinched his eyebrows and sighed helplessly. "It's done. Come and have a look." He had said that it would take one night to get it done out of selfishness, hoping to spend more time with her. But now it seemed that if he continued to be tormented by her, he didn't know what would happen. Chapter 161. Hearing this, Ningxi immediately threw all the awkwardness to the back of her mind. "Done? All of it?" Lu Tingxiao nodded and motioned her to come and see for herself. At first, Ningxi was worried that she couldn't understand it, but found that Lu Tingxiao didn't let her see the complicated process, but directly showed the result to her. The IP address that sent the email was from Pearl River Imperial View, where Ning Shuelua lived. The owner of the anonymous account abroad was Chui Kaijing, Ning Shuelua's assistant. I thought this kind of black technology only existed on TV, especially the anonymous account. It is very secure. It is almost impossible to hack into the bank system. Ningxi was so excited that she couldn't speak for a long time. Finally, she hugged Lu Tingxiao. Boss, you are so great. Lu Tingxiao. At this moment, Lu Tingxiao found that he had to face a problem. Now Ningxi did trust him completely, but she trusted him too much, and even forgot that he was a man. In short, she regarded him as a mentor, a helpful friend, even a father, but not a man. This was really a headache, but it was also a good sign. The time he had been waiting for was finally coming. What are you going to do with the evidence? Lu Tingxiao asked after adjusting his mood. Don't rush to announce it. Let Ning Shuelua continue to make trouble. The more trouble she makes now, the harder she will be slapped in the face. I am going to do what? Lu Tingxiao, help me. Why do I suddenly feel the ground is shaking? As soon as the word shaking was finished, Ningxi's vision went black and she fell to the ground with a thud. Ningxi, Lu Tingxiao's face suddenly changed and he hurriedly helped her up. The soft body in his arms was like a hot fireball. He reached out to touch her forehead. It was really hot. He had noticed it before, but he had always thought it was a psychological effect. He didn't expect that she was sick. Lu Tingxiao carried the person in his arms and ran downstairs quickly. Uncle Yuan, get the car ready. The old butler was also surprised. What's wrong with Miss Xiaoxi? I don't know. Lu Tingxiao was so panicked that even his iceberg mask broke. I don't know. He didn't know if it was because of the residual effects of the medicine, or if it was simply a fever, or if Zhu Shangqing had fed her some other messy things. At this moment, Lu Tingxiao was about to be drowned in self-blame. He should have taken her to the hospital for a checkup as soon as possible, but not only did he not, but he also delayed it for so long, making her so tired. So many things had happened this time. How much pressure must she be under? Forcing herself to hold on until now was probably her limit. Young master, don't be too nervous. I think Miss Xiaoxi just has a fever. Why don't we call the family doctor to come and have a look? At this moment, Lu Tingxiao could no longer hear anything. As soon as the driver drove the car over, he immediately carried her into the car. To the hospital. He then instructed the butler outside the carriage, informed Qin Mufeng to come as well. Yes, the butler had no choice but to agree. If he was still a little uncertain before, he understood everything after seeing the young master's reaction. This girl was most likely going to be their future young mistress. Chapter 162. When the housekeeper called Qin Mufeng was in a bar, and Lu Jingli was drinking and gossiping with him. Hearing that Ningxi suddenly fainted, they immediately rushed to the hospital. In the ward on the top floor of the capital's First People's Hospital. As soon as Qin Mufeng and Lu Jingli arrived, they saw Ningxi lying on the bed with a pale face and a drip on the back of her hand. Lu Tingxiao, who was sitting in a chair beside the bed, looked solemn and gloomy. Lu Jingli and Qin Mufeng looked at each other, obviously frightened by Lu Tingxiao's expression. Just then, a nurse came over with medicine. Lu Jingli hurriedly stopped her and asked quietly, "How is the patient? What's wrong? Is it serious?" "The patient has a fever. 39.6 degrees Celsius, the nurse answered. "Oh, fever. What? Fever?" Lu Jingli was confused. "Are you sure it's a fever? Just a fever?" "Yes, she's had a full body examination. There's nothing wrong. Don't worry. The gentleman in the ward has asked me many times." She didn't look impatient at all because, whether it was the man inside or the two at the door, they were all too handsome. She would answer even if he asked her 100 times. Lu Jingli weakly held onto the door frame and touched his beating heart. "Dear brother, are you trying to scare me to death? She just has a fever. Why do you look as if she has a terminal illness?" Qin Mufeng's face was full of helplessness. "They even called me over. Although I'm a doctor, I'm a psychiatrist." Lu Tingxiao looked up and glanced at Qin Mufeng coldly. "Now that Ningxi has replaced you, Maybe I should save some money. He was implying that he was going to fire him. He paid Qin Mufeng a lot of money every year. Ahem. Don't. I have many other uses. I know a very famous nutritionist in this hospital. I'll call him over right now to help Ningxi recuperate herself. Qin Mufeng did feel a little guilty. Ever since Ningxi came, he had too much free time. Whether it was Xiaobao or Lu Tingxiao, they rarely needed his help. He even stopped his weekly psychotherapy. After Qin Mufeng left, Lu Jingli saw Lu Tingxiao looking down at his phone. He couldn't help but ask, "Brother, what are you looking at?" When did his brother become an internet addict? As a result, he was shocked when he got closer. His brother had actually copied the surveillance video into his phone. Damn, brother, why are you looking at this? Little Cece's expression was so scary that I got goosebumps when I saw it. I don't know if she's acting or if it's real. Lu Jingli shuddered as he spoke. But now, his brother was actually playing it on loop, and with a magical expression of, "Oh, my wife is so cute." It was really hopeless. But the two of you are really telepathic, even thinking of the same method. It was all so simple and crude. TSK, you're really a family. Lu Jingli sighed. Lu Tingxiao caressed the face of the girl lying on the bed. His expression was one of pride and pride. To avoid being blinded, Lu Jingli turned his head away. You must have figured out the identity of the other party, right? Are you going to publish it on the internet to clear little Cece's name? Shall I do it now? Chapter 163. A cold glint flashed across Lu Tingxiao's eyes. There's no hurry. Lu Jingli touched his chin. That's right. Anyway, we have a trump card. It will be more fun to let her make a fuss. Prepare a contract for Ningxi, Lu Tingxiao said. Lu Jingli's eyes lit up. A contract? Brother, are you finally going to get sister-in-law into Shangshi? Prepare a copy of all the agent's information for me. This was an indirect answer to Lu Jingli's question. I know. You are going to pick an agent for Cece, right? I would be satisfied if you were 1,000th as nice to me as Cece. Lu Jingli complained sourly. Lu Tingxiao glanced at him, then suddenly extended his hand towards him. Lu Jingli thought that he was going to hit him and subconsciously moved back. What did I say wrong again? However, Lu Tingxiao just reached out and patted the back of his neck. It was a very intimate gesture for his brother. Lu Jingli was so flattered that even his ears were a little red. Brother, what are you doing? Lu Tingxiao frowned at him and said in a gentle tone, Don't just think about playing all day. Work hard and find someone you like. Lu Jingli was stunned, and then his body trembled. Oh my God, you scared me. Brother, you are so gentle to me. It's scarier than beating me up. I'll help you keep an eye on your marriage, Lu Tingxiao said. Oh, no, brother, you should continue to let me be. Please let me be. I won't say anything bad about you anymore. You can continue to be so cold. Lu Jingli was so scared that he almost wet his pants. What if his brother picked a woman who was as scary as him? If he picked a woman like Cece, he would not be able to handle it. He was not that hardcore. He liked women who were gentler. At this time, Lu Jingli suddenly had an idea. Brother, this is not something a man should worry about. Why don't you wait for sister-in-law to help me introduce her to me? My sister-in-law has good taste. Lu Tingxiao thought for a moment and said, Okay. Lu Jingli patted his chest and heaved a sigh of relief. It was a narrow escape from death. He used to change girlfriends quite quickly, but now he had been single for more than half a year. He didn't know why, but he felt that it was getting more and more boring. At the moment, he really didn't want to have a girlfriend at all. Especially after seeing his brother and Ningxi, he felt that his so-called love life was meaningless. Okay, he admitted, he was jealous. He was jealous that although his brother had waited for 32 years, his true love had finally arrived. And he didn't know if he could live to see that day. The more Lu Jingli thought about it, the sadder he became. He didn't want to stay here and be abused anymore. Brother, if there's nothing else, I'll leave first. I will send the things you want to you as soon as possible. Bye. Ningxi slept until the evening of the next day. When she opened her eyes again, her body was light and her mind was in a daze. as if she had been in a different world. This was the scene that Lu Tingxiao saw when he pushed the door open and came in. Under the afterglow of the setting sun outside the window, the girl was wearing a loose hospital gown. She looked like she had just woken up and was sitting on the pure white hospital bed in a daze. She looked particularly pitiful and made people want to hold her in their arms. Chapter 164. You're awake. Lu Tingxiao didn't want to disturb her, so he walked over softly and rubbed her messy hair gently. Lu Tingxiao. Ningxi looked at the person who had come. Well, how are you feeling? Ningxi looked confused. Is this the hospital? What happened to me? You fainted last night with a high fever of 39 degrees. Lu Tingxiao's face darkened as he recalled how she had suddenly fainted last night. Ningxi scratched her head. I have a fever? I was wondering why my body felt so weak and powerless. You're hungry. You've slept for almost a day and a night. Lu Tingxiao helped her open the dining table and put a pillow behind her. I guessed you would wake up soon, so I bought you dinner. Thank you. Ningxi looked at the busy man in front of her, pursed her lips and couldn't help touching his chin. Lu Tingxiao was startled by the warmth of his fingertips. He looked at the girl with an incomparably gentle gaze. Huh, what's wrong? Ningxi frowned as she looked at his haggard face and the green stubble on his chin. Did you take care of me for the whole night? You even have stubble. It's okay. I slept for a while. In fact, she hadn't slept for a minute, nor was she in the mood to wash up. She didn't feel relieved until he woke up. Let's eat. Because it's not suitable for you to eat greasy food now, there's only plain porridge. When you recover, I'll buy you something delicious. Lu Tingxiao took out the bowl and spoon and handed it to her. Do you have the energy to eat? Do you need my help? Ningxi didn't say a word or move. Lu Tingxiao looked up at her suspiciously. What's wrong? Are you feeling unwell? I'll call the doctor. Ningxi hurriedly grabbed him. Hey, I'm fine. I just didn't wake up and was in a daze. Lu Tingxiao sighed. What you need most now is a good rest. Don't let your imagination run wild. Okay. Ningxi nodded and buried her head in the porridge, but the expression on her face was very absent-minded. Lu Tingxiao was so nice to her that she almost panicked. It wasn't that she didn't notice it. In fact, his attitude towards her had always been like this from the very beginning. It was just that she had been deliberately ignoring it and even gradually getting used to it. Was everything that the man in front of her had done just to repay her kindness? Even if he treated her as a friend, could a friend go to such an extent? Because his mind was in a mess and there were too many things that he had to deal with, this thought only flashed past his mind. After eating, Ningxi finally recovered some energy. She quickly cleared her mind of all the messy thoughts and began to deal with business. Lu Tingxiao, do you have my phone? Lu Tingxiao looked displeased. Didn't you just say that you want to rest well? Ningxi put her palms together. I've slept for so long and I've had enough rest. I'm full now. If you don't let me do something now, I'll go moldy. Lu Tingxiao saw that her complexion was indeed much better, and he couldn't stand her pleading eyes, so he finally gave her the phone. Then, he went to get a thermometer. Take your temperature. Ah. Ningxi obediently opened her mouth to put the thermometer in her mouth, then immediately opened the website and began to browse the entertainment section. The crew of The World staged a conspiracy, and the vicious beauty did anything to get ahead. Was Ning Xuelua's injury an accident or a premeditated murder? Starlight Entertainment said that they would resolutely resist unfair competition and protect the safety and rights of their artists. Ning Xuelua's studio had already sent a lawyer's letter, and Ningxi had disappeared and had not responded yet. Chapter 165. Then, Ningxi opened Weibo and saw that the screen was filled with insults. It was several times more vicious than the one with Jia Qingqing. After all, compared to Jia Qingqing, Ning Xuelua was much more popular and her fans were much stronger. Ningxi, that bitch, has been hiding all this time. She must be feeling guilty. Did she run away because she saw that the matter had been exposed? After all, this time, she has attempted murder. If she goes to court, she will definitely go to jail. Being defamed once is because people are jealous. She must have a problem with her character if she keeps causing trouble like this. Moreover, this time, she was caught red-handed. Shuelua's reputation in the entertainment industry is well known. She even helped her junior several times. I didn't expect her to bite the hand that fed her and do such a thing. It's because of people like her that the atmosphere in the entertainment industry is getting worse. Don't you think that this was all Ningxi's plot from the beginning? First, she killed Jia Qingqing to secure the second female lead position. Then, she prepared to injure Ning Shuelua to get the first female lead position. It's scary to think about it. It's too scary. Indeed, beautiful women are all bad things. Lu Tingxiao glanced at the malicious comments on her phone and frowned. Stop looking. Ningxi sat cross-legged and shouted at the thermometer. It's okay. It's fun to look at it. Measure it carefully. Don't talk. Oh, you're obviously trying to talk to me. After finally measuring it, Lu Tingxiao looked at the thermometer. 37.1 degrees. Ningxi immediately said proudly, I told you that I'm fine. Actually, my body is very good. Can I leave the hospital now? Stay for a few more days to observe. I still have to stay, but I miss my baby Xiaobai. Ningxi pulled Xiaobao out. He's already on his way here. Lu Tingxiao's tone did not leave any room for negotiation. Okay. Ningxi was finally speechless. Lu Tingxiao cleared the dining table and sat on the chair beside the bed. What are you going to do next? Ningxi immediately thought of something. I was just about to tell you. Can you send a copy of the evidence to my phone? I'm going to forward it to someone first. Lu Tingxiao glanced at her. Zhang Chong. Ningxi was used to Lu Tingxiao's IQ, but she still couldn't help admiring him. No wonder you're Mr. Boss. Too smart. I'm going to let Zhang Chong blackmail Ning Shuelua with this evidence. As soon as Ningxi finished speaking excitedly, she coughed dryly and glanced at Lu Tingxiao uneasily. Am I being too vicious? Lu Tingxiao didn't answer. Instead, he analyzed. The point is, it's not good for you. It's too easy for Zhang Chong. Ningxi scratched her head. You're right, but my main purpose is to mess with Ning Shuelua. I didn't think much about anything else. Lu Tingxiao thought for a while and said, why not go by yourself instead of letting Zhang Chong take advantage of it? Ningxi's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Is this possible? Why not? Lu Tingxiao asked. Based on Ning Shuelua's tolerance level, you can ask her for 8 million yuan. This is the best time for you to terminate the contract with Xing Hui. You can use the money to pay for the breach of contract. After hearing Lu Tingxiao's words, Ningxi was speechless. At most, she would order others around. But not only did the devil not despise her behavior, he even taught her to be worse. Chapter 166. However, it was a perfect move. It was just that extortion was not something that he could get over if he were to do it himself. Ningxi bit her lips as she recalled what happened that night. She sneered in her heart. Heh, what's there to be afraid of? We've already done this much. Ningxi quickly made up her mind. All right, send it to me. I'll contact Ning Shuelua right now. There's no need for that. I'll help you. This way, no one will be able to find your IP address. Lu Tingxiao said. Ningxi looked at Lu Tingxiao as if he was a god. Her eyes sparkled as she said, Guru Lu, I realize that this skill of yours is amazing. Are you taking in any disciples? Lu Tingxiao was in a good mood when he saw the adoration in the girl's eyes. He glanced at her and said, No. Ningxi's face was filled with disappointment. Oh, so he's not taking me in. Boss Lu was a busy man. How could he take in disciples? Lu Tingxiao looked at her deeply. There's actually a faster way to get this skill. What is it? Ningxi immediately perked up. Lu Tingxiao said, Marry me? If she married him, everything he had would be hers. What else did she need to learn? Cough, cough, cough. Ningxi almost choked on her own saliva. He really couldn't say that he was wrong with this method, but was she being flirted with again? Lu Tingxiao enjoyed the girl's embarrassed expression for a while before he asked, Have you thought about which company to join after you terminate the contract? Ningxi rubbed her chin. Well, I'm still thinking about it. Lu Tingxiao pretended to be casual. Once you clear your name, your popularity will be comparable to that of an A-list celebrity. It'll be easy for you to find your next company. Ningxi sighed. It's actually quite troublesome. Small companies have less competition, but their prospects aren't promising. It'll be hard for me to join a big company without a strong background. Although I seem to have a lot of exposure now, it's all accumulated through scandals. I don't even have a completed work. My position is quite awkward. Teacher Liu, do you have any suggestions? Ningxi had already subconsciously asked for Lu Tingxiao's opinion on such an important decision. Lu Tingxiao poured her a glass of water and replied, "From my perspective as a businessman, you have a lot of potential. I'm optimistic about the value you can create in the future. That's why I hope that you can join Golden Era." Ningxi's eyes widened, and it took her a long time to come to her senses. Are you poaching me personally, boss?" Lu Tingxiao chuckled. "You're right. I do want to poach you. Are you coming?" "Oh my God." That tone was too much of a violation. Ningxi gulped, calmed herself down, and said with a serious expression, "To be honest, if I can leave Starlight, the company I want to join the most is Golden Era. Golden Era has already surpassed Starlight to become the best entertainment company in the industry. Their future is undoubtedly the best." Lu Tingxiao nodded with satisfaction, then extended his hand to her. Then, to a pleasant cooperation. Ningxi subconsciously stretched out her hand. It's a pleasure working with you, W. What's going on? Just like that, we're cooperating happily? She had reached an agreement with Golden Era just like that? How could the great Demon King be so efficient at poaching people? Chapter 167. Well, are we going to work together? Ningxi was still confused. I have high hopes for you, and you also like Shangshi. What's wrong with that? Lu Tingxiao asked. What's wrong with that phrase? Ningxi felt that she couldn't set Lu Tingxiao up, so she asked seriously, don't you need to think about it? I think I'm quite a troublemaker. What if I cause you trouble? If you can handle everything, why do I need the agency? That's the meaning of my existence. Oh, Ningxi touched her nose. Anyway, she found that although the devil was a man of few words, every word he said was a gem. She couldn't win against him in an argument. Ningxi thought about it carefully. Now that Xing Hui had wronged her again and again, it was only human nature for her to propose to terminate the contract at this time. She wouldn't be criticized. Moreover, now that she had settled the liquidated damages, it was certain that she would clear her name, so she shouldn't cause any trouble for Lu Tingxiao. Thinking of this, she was finally relieved. Boss, in order to repay your kindness, I will work hard to make money for you in the future. I won't let you down. Ningxi immediately expressed her sincerity to her boss. At least she was very confident in her ability. Lu Tingxiao smiled. Well, I'm looking forward to it. At this time, Ningxi's cell phone suddenly rang. The caller ID showed that it was Dirty Demon King. Jiang Mai had many missed calls before, but she was too busy and suddenly fell ill, so she didn't have time to call him back. Ningxi didn't avoid Lu Tingxiao and answered, Hello, Jiang. Before she could speak, a loud roar came from the other end of the phone. Ning Xiaoxi, where the hell have you been? Don't you know you've been slandered like shit? He went to the Lu mansion to look for her once, but was told by the housekeeper that she was not there. Neither was Lu Tingxiao. That day happened to be her birthday. How could he not think about it? Ningxi was speechless. What are you talking about? I'm in the hospital. Hearing this, Jiang Mai was stunned, and his voice became nervous. What? You're in the hospital? What happened to you? Were you beaten? Ningxi's mouth twitched. You were beaten. It's just a fever. Which hospital are you in? I'll come and see you right away. There's no need. You're so busy. You should take care of things at home first. My fever has subsided. Lu Tingxiao is here, and Xiaobao will be here soon. After a few seconds of silence, Jiang Mai said in a gloomy voice, Ningxi, have you seen the email I sent you? Not yet. How could I have the time? Since the night before yesterday, I've been under pressure and haven't had a moment to rest. Anyway, it's a long story. I'll tell you when I'm free. Jiang Mai took a deep breath. Remember to watch it as soon as possible. Also, let me ask you, what are you going to do about Ning Shueluo? I was going to help you find that bastard Zhang Chong, but when I found someone to stop him, he was already gone. You're from Starlight, so I can't use my studio's PR. So, I discussed it with Brother Ming and helped you contact a reliable PR team. Ningxi said gratefully, "Thank you, Jiang Mai, but you don't have to thank me. I've got the evidence to clear my name." Jiang Mai gnashed his teeth. Lu Tingxiao again? Chapter 168. I got it by myself, okay? But Lu Tingxiao did help me a lot later. I see. As long as you are fine. I'm hanging up. Don't forget to read my email. Considering that she was still ill, Jiang Mai suppressed his anger. He was not in the mood to ask Lu Tingxiao how he saved the damsel in distress, so he hung up the phone stiffly. Damn it. If Lu Tingxiao hadn't used despicable means to hold him back, he would have been the one to accompany her and help her through this difficult time. Shameless, too shameless. Did Jiang Mai call you? Lu Tingxiao asked casually. Yes, he asked me if I needed help. He even said that he sent me an email. I don't know what it is, but he kept reminding me to read it. He's so mysterious. It's probably some kind of birthday present. He did the same thing last year. He sent me a very scary prank video. I was so angry that I had to beat him up 3 times. Ningxi complained. She didn't rush to read the email, but continued to look through the text messages and missed calls to see if there was anyone else she needed to reply to. Most of the missed calls were from strange numbers. They must be from the media. When she scrolled to the end, she saw a name. It was from her birthday. Seeing that name, Ningxi's indifferent look became warm and soft. I thought he forgot my birthday. Who? Lu Tingxiao subconsciously became nervous. My brother, Tang Nuo. Lu Tingxiao nodded and quietly breathed a sigh of relief. He thought it was her ex-boyfriend again. He was on the verge of panicking at the slightest sound. Ningxi immediately called back. Hello, Xiaonua, sister. You finally called back. How are you now? Are you all right? Did those people make things difficult for you? I saw the news in the newspaper. Don't worry, I'm fine. But I saw that woman is going to sue you. Your sister is not weak either. It's hard to say who will sue who in the end. Are you really fine? Yes. If you keep worrying about me, I will suspect that you are not 17 but 70. Ningxi said and paused. But do you trust me so much? Maybe I was the one who stabbed Ning Xueluo on purpose in order to get promoted? The young man on the other end of the phone said in a clear voice, If I don't believe in my own sister, am I supposed to believe in unrelated people? Hearing this, Ningxi felt a warm current spread in her heart. Brat, you're good at talking. I'm relieved to know that you're fine. By the way, I haven't said happy birthday to you yet. It's all in the past now, it's fine. It's the same even if I say it now. Thank you, my dear handsome and caring younger brother. Don't be so mushy. I can't talk to you anymore. School is about to start, and I have to rush for my summer homework. Go. Do your best, young man. After the phone call, Ningxi's mood suddenly brightened. Seeing that she was in a good mood, Lu Tingxiao's mood brightened up as well. Do you two have a good relationship? Yeah. Although we are not related by blood, we have always had a good relationship. Didn't my grandmother value boys more than girls when she was young? At that time, Xiao Nuo was the only one who could eat anything delicious at home. I couldn't even eat on the table, but Xiao Nuo would always hide some for me. And every time my grandmother couldn't stand me and looked for trouble, he would come out to protect me. He's such a good boy. Ningxi said with some melancholy. Isn't it magical? Those who are related by blood are like enemies, but those who are unrelated are like family. I should have known that in that circle, benefits will always be above family. Lu Tingxiao gently patted the cute little hairpin on the girl's gloomy head. You will get better. Every time he heard her talk about her childhood, he couldn't help but love her a little more. He wanted to make up for everything she had lost. Chapter 169. After reading the call history, Ningxi continued to read the text messages. She was stunned when she saw one of them. Honey, I really underestimated your courage. Cinder. YS, what did this guy mean by sending such a message to her all of a sudden? What had she done? Lu Tingxiao had deleted the call history, So Ningxi naturally did not know that the two men had spoken to each other that night. What's wrong? Lu Tingxiao asked, noticing that something was wrong with her. Nothing. Ningxi just thought that the man was crazy again. She put down the phone and asked, when will Xiaobao come? He should be here soon. Ningxi touched her hair subconsciously. Where's the hair clip Xiaobao gave me? Here it is. I put it away for you. Lu Tingxiao opened the drawer of the bedside table and handed her the pink hair clip. Ningxi immediately put it on happily. Looking at the hair clip on Ningxi's head, Lu Tingxiao felt a trace of regret. He should not have given her a gun. If he had given her a necklace, bracelet, or earrings, she could have worn it close to her body. In fact, he had already prepared a gift, a ring, but it was not the right time to give it to her. As they were talking, there was a knock on the door. Ningxi got out of bed and opened the door. It was Xiaobao. Baby, you're here. After Xiaobao came in, he didn't do anything but anxiously pulled on her clothes with his little hands, as if he wanted her to lower herself a little. What's the matter? Ningxi squatted down. Xiaobao immediately knocked his little head on her forehead with a serious face. Ningxi couldn't help laughing. Puffed, baby, are you taking my temperature? Don't worry, I just measured it with a thermometer. My fever is gone. Xiaobao was still worried. He looked at the bruise on the back of her hand left by the drip with distress. Ningxi held the little guy in her arms and patted him comfortingly. Don't frown. Andy's pain is gone as soon as I see you. It was a magical cure. She really wanted to steal it home. Do you want to go for a walk? Lu Tingxiao suggested. Okay. It just so happened that she wanted to move around after sleeping for a day. It was not good to let Xiaobao accompany her in the ward. When the three of them went to take the elevator, they passed by a ward. It was noisy outside the ward, and there were layers of reporters with long and short cameras. All of them were competing to interview the woman in the ward. Shueluo, have you contacted Ningxi? Not yet. I haven't heard from her. Ningxi absconded to escape punishment. Do you have anything to say about this? What are you going to do next? I don't know. I still can't believe that she would do such a thing. I heard that Ning's International Group and Starlight Entertainment have withdrawn their investments in protest, right? Has the production crew responded yet? Will they replace Ningxi? I'm not sure about that. You can ask the person in charge of the crew. If Ningxi appears and apologizes to you, will you forgive her? If she is truly remorseful, I can't forgive her for being muddle-headed for a moment, but the bad influence she has caused on the entertainment industry is not something that can be resolved by an apology, nor is it up to me to forgive her. Ningxi couldn't help but raise her eyebrows when she saw Ning Shuelua's White Lotus drama. She didn't realize until now that she was staying in the same hospital as Ning Shuelua, and they were in the same ward. Just then, one of the reporters suddenly noticed Ningxi's direction at the opposite elevator and exclaimed, Ningxi? Chapter 170. Ningxi? Where is she? Ningxi is here? No way. How dare she show up? Over there. For a moment, all the reporters looked over and picked up their cameras, ready to take photos and grab the news. Ningxi frowned. Her first reaction was to protect the little bun and not let others scare him. She didn't care about herself. However, before she could hug the little bun, her head was suddenly pressed into a warm embrace by a wide palm, and then her other hand was held tightly by the little bun's soft little hand, as if comforting her not to be afraid. As for the reporters, they all stopped when they were 10 steps away from them. Out of nowhere, 2 tall men dressed in black and wearing sunglasses appeared. Their expressions were ferocious, and they blocked their way like door guards. Hey, who are you? Get out of the way. Good dogs don't block the way. A reporter was so eager to grab the headlines that he blurted out without thinking. But there were also clever people in the crowd who grabbed the person who spoke. Their faces were full of fear, as if they had seen something extremely terrible. You're crazy. They are the bodyguards of Lu Enterprises. Lu Corporation. You can't be talking about that Lu Corporation, right? Nonsense. There are several Lu Enterprises in the capital. But how do you know? There are no words engraved on their faces. Are you an idiot? Didn't you see the family emblem on their clothes? With this reminder, everyone took 3 steps back in unison, and the few who had been rude earlier apologized with faces full of fear. Big brothers, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We have eyes but failed to recognize you. Please don't take it to heart. Oh my God. These 2 are the private guards of Lu Enterprises? Then who are the 3 people behind them? The reporters craned their heads to see what was going on, but as soon as they cautiously looked over, they all retreated with pale faces. The man who was holding the girl in his arms was tall and had a frosty face like a god, but his eyes were too sharp and his aura was too oppressive. The reporters with a little bit of experience were good at reading people's expressions. They immediately realized that the man in front of them was not someone to be trifled with. At the same time, they calmed down and realized that something was wrong. What, Ningxi? You must be mistaken. They are a family of 3. How could that woman be Ningxi? Yes. Have you gone crazy thinking about the headlines? Everyone looks like Ningxi. This person doesn't look like someone to be trifled with. Are you trying to get us killed? The reporters began to complain about the person who spoke first. Maybe I saw wrongly, but they really do look a little alike. Didn't you guys also make a mistake at the beginning? Like my ass. That Ningxi is a venomous woman with a venomous heart, but this miss looks like a good wife and a loving mother. Her temperament is noble and refined. She doesn't look like a human at all. Exactly. Such a soft and cute girl. How could it be Ningxi, that bitch? At this time, the elevator arrived with a ding sound. Even after the 3 of them disappeared into the elevator, the reporters were still sighing. Aya, did you guys notice the little boy just now? He's so beautiful. Furthermore, he looks exactly like that man. One look and I can tell that he's his biological son. Who exactly is that man to the Lu family? What a terrifying aura. I feel like that man looks familiar. Why do I feel like? He looks like the god of fortune. Don't say it. He does look like him. That little boy. Could he be the legendary little crown prince? Chapter 171. This conjecture was like a stone that caused 1,000 ripples. Impossible. Lu Tingxiao is single. He has a son, but he doesn't have a girlfriend. If it's really him, then it's going to be big news. So what if it's big news? Do you dare to expose it? Have you forgotten how Vio magazine fell? Of course I remember. It was because they took a photo of Lu Tingxiao and had the audacity to publish it. Speaking up to this point, everyone gave up on that thought. Those who were quick enough to take photos all started to delete the photos with trembling hands. Lu Tingxiao was famous for keeping a low profile in the entertainment circle. He did not accept any interviews from magazines or media outlets. His little prince was even more protected. No matter how curious they were about what happened today and the identity of the woman, no media outlet dared to touch the line of death. In the lift, Ningxi lifted her head from Lu Tingxiao's arms. She looked at the big bun and then the little bun. So this is how it feels to be protected. Are you all right? I'll get you to another hospital. Lu Tingxiao's face was still gloomy. He had just found out about the unpleasant coincidence when he came to the hospital in a hurry. Don't bother. I'm fine now. Why don't we go home? I hate staying in the hospital. Okay. Where did those 2 bodyguards come from? Ningxi asked curiously. They are nearby. You are in a special situation now. Let them follow you just in case. He would not allow another incident like last time where she was attacked by fans. I haven't even signed a contract with Shangshi, and I'm already getting such benefits? Ningxi was flattered. Suddenly, she saw herself in the mirror above the lift door. Ningxi touched her face in the mirror. Oh, are those reporters blind? They didn't recognize me when I was standing right in front of them. They even said that I'm a good wife and mother, that I'm fresh and refined, that I'm a soft girl, that I'm cute. I'm the stepmother from Snow White or the wolf grandmother from Little Red Riding Hood. That's more suitable for me, right? As she spoke, she looked at herself in the mirror. Then, she realized that she had not put on any makeup and was wearing a loose hospital gown. Her hair was braided into a loose braid at the back of her head, and she wore the pink hair clip that Xiaobao had given her. The expression on her face was gentle and demure. What the hell? She's quite a soft girl. Ningxi was shocked by herself. Was she always like this in front of Big Bun and Little Bun? It wasn't like her at all. At this time, after listening to Ningxi's words, Xiao Baozi suddenly took out a pocket-sized notebook that she brought with her. She immersed herself in writing for a while, and then eagerly handed it to her. "Baby, what do you want to say?" Ningxi took the little book. After reading it, she blushed. "What's wrong?" Seeing Ningxi's strange expression, Lu Tingxiao asked. Ningxi covered her burning cheeks, her eyes full of accusation. "Lu Tingxiao, it's all your fault. Look at your son." What happened? Lu Tingxiao felt quite wronged, so he went to see what Xiaobao had written. After reading it, he fell silent. In the little book, he carefully wrote, "One stroke at a time. You are the brightest star in the sky. Your eyes are warmer and sweeter than chocolate. When I look at you, it's like I'm looking at a fairy tale princess with eternal beauty." Chapter 172. After hearing Ningxi's self-deprecating words, Xiao Bao decided to use his ultimate move. Ningxi was touched and worried at the same time. "Lu Tingxiao, Xiao Bao must have inherited this from you. He's so good at making girls happy. What will happen when he grows up? I can't imagine how much I'd be attracted to him if he could talk." Especially the last sentence. It was like a stab to her heart. He actually said she was a princess. She had always wanted to be a queen, because that was the only way she could face all difficulties fearlessly. Facing Xiao Bao's princess, her hidden girlish heart was hooked. Which girl didn't want to be a carefree princess? She just had no other choice. Lu Tingxiao looked at his son and sighed. This was not just an inheritance, but the student had surpassed the master. Seeing Xiao Bao standing there looking up at her with a serious face, Ningxi chuckled helplessly and leaned over to hug him. Okay. I know I'm the most beautiful in your eyes. I won't belittle myself anymore, okay?" Only then was Xiao Bao satisfied. Imitating what she usually did to reward him, he gently kissed her on the cheek. Ningxi couldn't help hugging him and rubbing him. "Hey, what should I do? I want to steal you away when your father isn't paying attention." Xiao Bao blinked and looked very expectant. He nodded in agreement as if saying, "Hurry up and steal it." Ningxi pfft. Lu Tingxiao. Why did he feel like he was the third wheel? At the same time, in Ning Shuelua's ward, the reporters couldn't catch up with Ningxi, so they went back to interview Ningxuel. Now everyone was frantically looking for Ningxi, but she seemed to have disappeared. There was no news at all. The reporters stopped at her apartment, the crew, and the company, but they couldn't find her. If they knew that Ningxi stayed in the ward on the same floor as Ning Shuelua, and that she had just passed by them, they would probably go crazy. Su Yin was worried about Ning Shuelua's health, so he asked a few more questions and interrupted everyone. "I'm sorry, everyone. Shuelua hasn't recovered from her injuries and is very weak. Today's interview will end here." "Yeah, I'm not feeling well. I'm sorry, everyone." Although the reporters were unwilling, they could only express their understanding. They told her to rest well, and then cooperated and left. Chongli politely sent them out. "Thank you for everyone's concern for our Shueluo. I believe that justice exists in the hearts of people and that everyone has their own values. It's not easy for everyone to run back and forth on such a hot day. This is a little reward for everyone's hard work." After that, Cui Kaijing, the assistant next to her, began to give out red envelopes to everyone. The reporters were well aware of this, so they all agreed to help Ning Shuelua seek justice. On the bed, Ning Shuelua seemed to have thought of something. She had a suspicious look on her face. "Brother Yin, what's with those reporters? Why did they all suddenly run out? Is it really Ningxi?" "No, they mistook me for someone else." Su Yin tucked her in, looking a little dazed. Most of those reporters had never seen Ningxi in person, but he was different. The figure he had caught a glimpse of really looked like Ningxi. He was almost sure that it was Ningxi in person. But how is that possible? How could Ningxi be so intimate with a man, with a child by her side? Chapter 173. Late at night, at the Lu Mansion, Ningxi had been watching entertainment news online for a while and was about to go to bed when several messages popped up on her SN. They were from Su Yin. Su-yin, Xiaoxi, where are you now? I saw someone in Shueluo's hospital today. Was it you? Su-yin, you really went too far this time. You can't take advantage of our guilt to exhaust our patience with you. Su-yin, running away won't solve anything. You owe Shueluo an apology. Ningxi sneered and then typed back to him. I bought a watch last year. At this time, there was a knock on the door. Come in. Lu Tingxiao pushed the door open and walked in with a glass of warm milk in his hand. He frowned when he saw that she was still on the computer. Why are you still online? You need to rest. I was about to go to bed, but I felt disgusted before going to bed. Ningxi complained. Lu Tingxiao walked over and handed her the milk. What's wrong? Ningxi took the milk and thanked him. Then, without any hesitation, she showed him the chat history. Lu Tingxiao glanced at it, and his face darkened. Then, he revealed a suspicious expression. I bought a watch last year. What does this mean? Pfft. Ningxi almost spat out the milk when she heard Lu Tingxiao read it out so seriously. She explained awkwardly ahem, that's internet language. It's a classic and straightforward curse. Really? What is it? Lu Tingxiao asked humbly. Ningxi had no choice but to teach him seriously. The abbreviation of the watch I bought last year is WQNLGB. Well, do you understand? Lu Tingxiao nodded. He understood immediately. Ningxi breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, the devil had a high IQ. Otherwise, she would have been too embarrassed to say something like, go to hell. After Su Yin saw Ningxi's reply, he immediately sent a lot of messages overexcitedly, asking her to repent and be saved. Out of sight and out of mind, Ningxi logged out and turned off the computer. Lu Tingxiao was in a good mood when he saw Ningxi's response. I've already contacted Ning Shueluo for you. Really? What did you say? Ningxi immediately asked. Lu Tingxiao took out his phone and opened an email for her to read. Ningxi hurriedly leaned over to take a look. After reading it, she was speechless. In the email that Lu Tingxiao sent to the other party, other than the evidence and an account number, there were only a few words, not even punctuation marks. 8 million in 24 hours. This was indeed Lu Tingxiao's style. Not bad, not bad. The simpler it is, the easier it is to make them panic. It's pretty good. Ningxi nodded her head and praised. When the money is in your account, you can go and talk to Starlight about terminating the contract, lest they deliberately make things difficult for you. When the time comes, I will arrange for a lawyer to accompany you. I've asked Jingli to prepare the contract for you. I'll show it to you tomorrow morning. If there's anything that needs to be changed, we'll discuss it then. After signing the contract, Golden Era will hold a press conference for you to release the evidence. After that, we'll start the legal process. Lu Tingxiao's low and hoarse voice was like a cello as he calmly stated the next step of the plan and arrangements. Ningxi was stunned. She nodded and then asked subconsciously, is there anything else I need to do? Eat, sleep, and take care of your body. Oh. Chapter 174. At the First People's Hospital of the capital, Ning Shueluo was lying comfortably on the hospital bed, holding a glass of red wine in one hand and scrolling through Weibo with the other. She had never felt so happy before when she saw the people cursing Ningxi online. Cui Kaijing massaged her calf and said in a flattering tone, Sister Shueluo, your legs are so beautiful, long and straight. Actually, they were just a little better looking than the average person. She spent millions on plastic surgery every year. How could she not look better than the average person? Ning Shueluo liked this kind of compliment very much and said proudly, it's natural. Changli, who was standing next to her, felt a little uneasy. She said worriedly, Shueluo, do you think Ningxi is trying to set us up? She hasn't shown up for so long, has she? Ning Shueluo sneered disdainfully, you overestimate her. Even if she has slept with 100 times, she won't be able to turn the situation around. That's true. In the entertainment industry, an artist with such a serious bad record will face the same consequences as Jia Qingqing. It's useless no matter who helps her clear her name. Changli calmed down a little. By the way, I've just sent an email to Ningxi, giving her an ultimatum. Tell her to come to the company before 6 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, or I'll shut her out. I don't believe she won't show up tomorrow. Remember to arrange for more reporters to wait for her. Ningxi laughed happily. She was replying to the fans' comments about her injury when a new email notification popped up on the top of her phone. Who would send her an email at this time? And it was sent to her personal email address. Ning Xuelua didn't pay much attention to it. She opened it casually and was stunned on the spot. The red wine in her hand spilled all over her body. Oh, Sister Xuelua, what's wrong? Cui Kaijing hurriedly took a tissue and wiped it for her. What's wrong, Xuelua? Changli asked suspiciously when she saw Ning Xuelua's frightened expression. See for yourself. Ning Xuelua threw the phone at Cui Kaijing's head with trembling hands. What the hell are you doing? How could you leave such a big loophole? Why did you send that email in my apartment? Also, didn't I tell you to use an anonymous account to transfer money? It took Cui Kaijing a while to regain her senses. She held her forehead as she read the email on her phone. She was stunned and said in a panic, Sister Xueluo, you can't blame me. I did use an anonymous account. As for the email, you were there when I sent it, and you didn't say anything at that time. Ning Xuelua smashed her wine glass. Can't you figure it out yourself if I don't tell you? If you want me to say everything, what use do I have for you? After Changli finished reading the email, her face was solemn. The thing I was most worried about still happened. I'm just afraid that someone might find out. Who sent this email? Zhang Chong? Ning Xuelua's face darkened. Impossible. Zhang Chong is just a hooligan with a primary school education. He doesn't even know what IP addresses and anonymous accounts are. That's really strange. Anyway, besides us, only Zhang Chong knows about this. The news must have been leaked by Zhang Chong. Could it be that he conspired with someone? But Zhang Chong has long disappeared. There's no one to ask. Changli said anxiously. Ning Xuelua walked back and forth in the ward. What's the point of talking so much nonsense? The key now is how to solve this problem. Chapter 175. Changli calmed herself down and comforted her. Calm down, Chul. The email asked us to transfer 8 million to that account within 24 hours. It's obvious that they're after money. Just give them the money. As long as it can be solved with money, it's not a problem. Ning Xuelua said irritably, 8 million. We only have 1 day. Where am I going to get that much cash? Although she made a lot of money, she spent even more. She usually spent money to please the Ning family and the people in the circle. If we gather the money, we might be able to get it. Changli muttered. She thought that the other party really knew how to ask for a price that was exactly what they could afford. At this time, Ning Xuelua suddenly thought of something. Since they can check our information, why can't we? Changli shook her head. Is it that easy to check an anonymous account? We have to hack into the bank system. Even if we hire someone, it's not easy to find a hacker of this level in a short time. Besides, so what if we find out who it is? They have something on us. We have to give them the money no matter what. Damn it. Ning Xuelua glared at Cui Kaijing, who was hiding in the corner. You can't do anything right. If it weren't for the fact that she had something on Ning Xuelua, she would have kicked her out a long time ago. Cui Kaijing wanted to refute, but she didn't dare to say anything. She was really innocent. Ning Xuelua tried her best to recover from the shock and forced herself to calm down. Sister Chong, help me raise the money now. Quick. Also, hire a few more groups of people to make sure that Ning Xi will never have a chance to make a comeback within a week. Xuelua, since we have Zhang Chong's confession, do you think we should put her in jail once and for all? Changli suggested tentatively. No. Although the Ning family doesn't like her, they won't let her go to jail. Remember, don't let her terminate the contract. It's best if she stays in the company for the rest of her life to pay off her debts. Otherwise, if she runs back to the Ning family, I won't be able to control her. Also, in case anything happens tomorrow, I'll arrange a good lawyer for you. Ning Xuelua racked her brains to remind them one by one. Only after making sure that she did not miss anything did she feel at ease. Originally, everything was going smoothly. She didn't expect such a big problem to happen. Fortunately, Changli was right. Anything that could be canceled with money was not a problem. She would never allow anything to go wrong in the following matters. The next day, Ningxi successfully got 8 million yuan. At 6:00 in the afternoon, she went to Starlight Entertainment accompanied by the lawyer Lu Tingxiao arranged for her. At this moment, it was the time for the employees to get off work. Everyone was stunned when they saw Ningxi. Then they ran around crazily to spread the news, sending all kinds of messages and photos to the group in Weibo. Ningxi, who disappeared from the world, finally appeared. Oh my god! Ningxi! It really was her. She actually dared to appear. Yeah, how daring. If it were me, I would have run away. Why would I come back? That's right. After this incident, she definitely won't be able to stay in the entertainment circle anymore. She might even be sentenced to jail. It's better to just run away. Did you see the man beside her? One look, and you could tell he was an elite. Who are they? It doesn't look like a lover. Could it be an assistant? How is that possible? She's already in such dire straits. How could she afford an assistant? Can't she sleep with a sugar daddy? Hee hee. I'd like to see what kind of sugar daddy has the ability to settle such a big problem for her. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.